start in just a moment or two. If you want to speak during public forum, please sign up at the podium, or if there's an agenda item you want to speak on, please sign up. If you've been asked here for a recognition, you don't need to sign up. We've got you covered. Thank you.
Friends that have put her in touch.
Erica, do we have anyone waiting that needs to be on?
Everyone.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Mitchell,
Here.
Vice Mayor Bravo,
Here.
Councilman Santeen,
Here.
Councilman Fahet,
Here.
Councilman Vasquez.
Here.
There is a quorum present.
Thank you. I'm going to ask everyone to rise if you are able for the invocation, please.
Everybody turn around. Nice and loud, Danny.
Our Heavenly
Danny.
Father, we ask your blessings for all that are gathered here tonight in our beloved Miami Springs. Remind those of us on the council that we are not only leaders of our community, but also servants with the responsibility to consider many viewpoints and serve the common good of our community. We ask for the wisdom and courage to speak out when it is time to speak out, to listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen, and to make decisions based on what we know to be right and good. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, of justice, and of love. Amen.
Amen.
And tonight, I want to, we remember with sadness, but also with fondness and admiration, two beloved members of our community who have passed away. Sydney Garden, who passed away at 96. And those of you that know her know she was not just a Rotarian, but an active member, always having fun and showing us the true meaning of enjoying life. And also Douglas Orr, the founder of the iconic Miami Springs business, Doug Orr Plumbing, and a very active community leader for many, many years here in Miami Springs, with many contributions to the youth programs at the Recreation Center. So our condolences to their family, but they are remembered lovingly and with fondness here in our community. And with that, I'd like to ask everyone to join us as the Scouts lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America.
Thank you, Scouts. Please be seated. Wow, I say this a lot of meetings, but this time I really, really mean it. It's awesome to see so many happy, friendly faces here in our community, so many reasons to be engaged and to celebrate so many accomplishments of our community. So with that, we'll get started with the awards and presentations, which is first on our agenda. And this evening, we are really honored to have so many community leaders, people who have made such a deep contribution to our city, to our way of life, and we'll be honoring all of them tonight. And we'll get started with the swearing-in ceremony of Police Officer Kevin Frias by Chief Guzman.
I've always said that my two favorite parts of my job are swearing in new officers and promoting officers. So today I get to do both. And I think it's very fitting that as this is my final day as your chief, that I promote, or actually that I swear in the next coming chief that I'm very comfortable and confident will lead the department forward and hit the ground running. So with that said, I want to introduce Kevin Frias. Kevin, would you please stand up there? Kevin is a resident of Miami Springs. He started going to school at Blessed Trinity. From there, he went to Springs High, Miami-Dade College, eventually Florida International University, where he got his degree. And if you happen to travel through Coral Gables, I wouldn't mention that you're from Springs, because he was with the Coral Gables Police Department until today. He went through the process, and then we snatched him from Chief Hudak. But I still got Chief Hudak to buy me lunch last week. Anyways, Kevin, would you please raise your right hand? By the way, Kevin is joined here by his mom and dad. Any of your other relatives here?
Yes, my girlfriend and my cousins.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome and thank you for being here.
And your brother.
Oh, your brother.
And
Okay, but you also have another brother, right? Okay. So anyways, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kevin Frias,
I, Kevin Frias,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will defend and support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Florida
and the Constitution of the State of Florida
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
I will bear faith and allegiance
to the same, to uphold and enforce the laws of the United States,
to uphold and enforce the laws of the United States,
the State of Florida,
the State of
the County of Miami-Dade, and the City of Miami Springs.
the City of Miami Springs.
I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservation
or purposes of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
of the City of Miami Springs
of the City of Miami
to the
Springs.
best of my ability.
That's my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations and welcome aboard. Kevin's family is welcome to join us here. Take pictures. And let me interrupt real quick because if I don't say this, when I get home, I'm going to be in trouble. My wife is watching, so hi, Mrs. Guzman, I love you. And my daughter is watching all the way from Tuscaloosa, Alabama at the university. Hi, sweetie, I love you too. Go back to school, go back to studying. They would want me to, sure.
Welcome, Officer Frias. We're really glad to have you here, and thank you for serving and protecting our community.
To Kevin and his family, we welcome you to the Miami Springs Police family. This is a family. You know, I felt it from the first day I walked in here. And as I walk out today, I'm going to miss them. Going to miss them a great deal. I've always tried to make decisions not in a vacuum. I get the input from the team, and, you know, talking to the incoming chief, Jimmy Deal, we always said, we're a team. You know, yeah, I had the final say, but it never felt, or at least I never tried to come across as the chief, the guy that has all the answers. No, we were a team from day one. We're a team today. And although I'll be watching from a distance, you'll still be part of my team, my heart, and my love to all of you. And I wish God protects you always. So the next person I'd like to call up is Ronnie Gonzalez, who will be promoted to the rank of sergeant. Ronnie? Or yeah. So Ronnie's here with his wife and children. Any other relatives here?
Mother, my brother.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Ronnie's a graduate of South Miami High. He's one of five. He has two brothers and two sisters. His wife, Roxanne, is here. His two children, Raiden and Rosalind. Ronnie started with us in September of 2018. Shortly thereafter, he went through training to become an officer in charge. And just last year in July, he went through motorcycle training. So he became one of our motor officers. Then the sergeant's test came around, and I got to tell you something. Ronnie knocked it out of the park. He scored #1 on the test. So congratulations on that. And let me short little brief story about Ronnie. He was a fairly new officer. And one night I was working late, and I haven't done it in a while, but that night I said, I'm going to go ride with Ronnie. So he picked me up at the station. We handled a few routine calls. Then we had an individual at a barbershop on South Drive, right? He went in there. He had some sort of disagreement. He started shooting inside the barbershop. And we immediately found out where the individual was, and we stacked up on the door. And Ronnie, for not having had any prior police experience from that day, I was so impressed with the way he handled himself and the way we were able to take that individual into custody without anybody else getting hurt. And when we went into the room where he was slightly barricaded, he had several weapons on his bed, several, but I was very impressed with Ronnie from that day. So with that said, Ronnie, congratulations on your promotion to sergeant. Those little holes are sometimes difficult to.
Love hurts, Sergeant. The uniforms are really hard.
No pressure, Roxanne. Everybody's watching, but don't get nervous. That's
Okay, just hold it up.
Anybody have the theme from Jeopardy? That's all right. Take your picture. Of course, please.
Ay, qué lindo.
Anyone else? Any other family? You got any other families?
Over to the front. You guys fit. If you want to stand more here to come out, you fit. Ready? 1, 2.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Sergeant. And thank you for serving our city and our residents.
Well done. This is a first for me. Sir,
Oh, it's a first.
you're on deck.
I hear you.
Captain Jimmy Deal is a product of Miami Springs, attending Springview Elementary, Springs Junior High, Springs High. He was hired by Miami Springs in 1990 as a dispatcher. 93, he went to the police academy and successfully completed that and graduated and became a police officer. From 93 to 97, he worked patrol, was an OIC. In 97, he went through canine school and became a canine handler. He was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2004, and then to lieutenant in 2015, and to captain in 2019. And tonight he's being sworn in as chief of police. So would you please raise your right hand? I state your name. Do hereby swear that I will support the Constitution and I will obey the laws of the United States and the state of Florida, and I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the charter, observe the provisions of the charter and ordinance of the city of Miami Springs, and will faithfully discharge the duties of chief of police. Congratulations, Chief Deal. I'll be right back. No pressure.
You got it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Real quick, Chief will be back momentarily. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, Madam Mayor, Council, Erica, Heidi, my friends and family that are here. Thank you all for being here. More than you know. For the men and women of this fine department, thank you all for your support and your undying dedication. Thank you.
Congratulations, Chief. Take some pictures of other family. Do you have any other family? Any other members of, Chief Field's family that need to want to take a picture of the Mhm.
Actually,
Okay, so
hold on.
thank you. Chief, and stay right here because this is a very important night. Um,
Wait, Chief, you
me to hold that?
We got more people. You good?
There's nothing like a.
Oh, we're gonna,
we're gonna take one with, we're gonna take one with the council and the chief, the new chief, and all of the officers and everyone here in a minute. Oh. Chief Guzman, I don't think any of us have ever seen you in out of uniform.
Looks good on you,
Very
man.
dapper. I think it's gonna suit you. Okay. Okay, and I'm gonna ask our city manager to do the honors with,
Oh,
That-
with Chief
yes?
Guzman? Well, first
The
and
next-
foremost, when he gave me the disappointing news of his retirement, only 4 months into my tenure here, I can tell that in my time here, and I've known you for a number of years before that, when I tried to hire you somewhere else. I can tell based on the crowd here and the officers that you are leaving a long-lasting impression in their lives. And I can tell you that you did the same for me. And I wish you nothing but the best. And thank you so much for your dedication and for your service to this city. I appreciate it. And then when he told me that, I said, immediately, I said, "You think Captain Deal's ready?" And he says, "Without a doubt." And in speaking with Captain Deal, Chief Deal now, I can tell the residents of this city that there is nobody here that breathes, eats, sleeps Miami Springs more than Chief Deal does. And we are in great hands. And I'm really excited to see where this department is going to go from here. So you have big shoes to fill, but I know you're up to the task. So with that, Mayor, I
Okay,
recognize Chief Guzman for his retirement.
and we have a new police chief, and it's a really important night for our city. Chief Guzman, Chief Guzman. What can we say? There's not enough words to describe over 9 years of your dedication of protecting our community, our residents. I always say, I can go out to my car at night, in the middle of the night, I forget something and I don't have a second thought about what other communities can you do that except because of how you and the police department, all of the officers and all of the staff in the police department protect our city. There's not enough words in the dictionary to thank you for your years of service, for the leadership that you've provided. I know you're leaving the department in very, very good hands with our new chief and with all of the officers, lieutenants, sergeants that we have on board. So on behalf of all of our community, from the bottom of our heart, thank you for your years of service. I know this isn't a job that ends when you go home. It's a 24/7, and we're eternally grateful for that. And we are very excited to welcome our newest chief, Chief Deal, on board.
So with the council, like,
We're going to take a photo. I'll let the
Real
chief
brief,
say,
for
and then we'll
those of
take a-
you that were present Wednesday, that was something that just blew my mind. You know, Adi, my work daughter, and I've always said the brains of the operation, she pulled that off. And for me not to get wind of it, for not to suspect it or nothing. And, you know, even my daughter flew in from school and I had no clue, you know, I have her on that Life 360 and the thing was off and I go, why is your location off? Oh, no, Dad, my phone's not working properly. So, but if you were present later on at the rec center, you might have heard me say, and I'll say it again, the first thing I have to thank is God for the blessings that he's given me, day in and day out. I've had a beautiful career. I wouldn't change it. The family, my wife, my children that have supported me throughout this. Any law enforcement officer that does not have that backing, that foundation, that support will not succeed, will not be a good officer. I have friends outside and in here and family that I've developed over the last 9 years that mean the world to me. But I will tell you this, and like Chief Deal, yes, sir. There are many in the department, not just in the police department, but in parks and rec, sanitation, public works, building, code, the senior center, golf, that have been here for a long time. So just like you are residents, you're invested in this community, they are invested in this community. And Councilman Vasquez, you being in the military, you're a veteran, I'm sure you've heard this term, that it's amazing what proper motivation, teamwork, and leadership can accomplish.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So whatever accomplishments, whatever things have occurred, positive and great, it's the hard work and dedication of the men and women of the Miami Springs Police Department.
Absolutely.
Your number one resource in any organization is your people. Motivate them, treat them well, and lead them, and you can accomplish wonders. So always keep that in mind, please. Appreciate that. Thank you all for your support. And
Thank you,
Chief
Chief.
Deal, God bless. And to the men and women of the Miami Springs Police Department, you'll always have a special place in my heart. And I'm not leaving anywhere. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'll say till I see you again, because I will be back for lunch at the Greek Deli or
Pastelitos.
or what?
Pastelitos.
Pastelitos, yeah. Bella. So thank you for everything you've done for me, for your support. God bless you all.
Chief, and I'd like to ask Chief Deal, Chief Guzman,
Take a photo with the council and with all of the other men and women from the police department that are here to join us for a photo.
There's police chiefs from all over the county. Everyone can come up, anybody.
Huh? Everyone that's in uniform. We'll stand back here and that way there's,
Start with the people that.
and I also wanted to recognize, tonight we have two former council members who have served under Chief Deal, Councilmember Bob Best and Councilmember Dan Espino. And he's also our school board member. So I'd like them to join us here on the podium since they have both served under Chief Deal. Under Chief Guzman. Oh, yeah? How much longer? Just started to drop. Yes, sir. We'll take one like this and then we'll come in the front and we'll take another one.
Guys, come on in, take a knee, get in the picture.
We have we still have a few more coming. Come on. I'm gonna make
And it was all. Good, good. Everything's good. Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm gonna come by one of these days, I promise. How's it going, young man? How's everything? Trying to get this way, but I can. Harry, see you, man. What's up, Mike? Same as when I go this way. I live over. Can we leave it?
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you to continue your conversations outside so we can move on with the meeting, please. Thank you.
I'm going, I noticed. I knew it, and I'm going, oh my God, I see it.
The parade is something we can't package and deliver and present here, but you know that that certainly went with our thoughts of the honor that you deserve and the respect that we have for you. So this is a certificate of recognition for our Chief Armando Guzman, Chief of Police, in recognition of 9 years and 1 month of dedicated service to the City of Miami Springs Police Department and our residents in our community. And thank you so much. I'd like to ask for one more with our former council member, Deanna Spino, and council member Bob Best. Alongside. Okay, we're going to continue. We have a few presentations, and so the council and I will stay here so we don't move back and forth. Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. I'll move it here. Chief Guzman, we have one more. This is a letter from the state attorney, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle. She was unable to be here tonight, but she asked that I read this letter out to you. Dear Chief Guzman, I hope this letter finds you well and in good spirits. I want to express my sincere apologies as I have a prior commitment and will be unable to attend the Miami Springs City Council meeting to be held in your honor on February 26th. I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations on your retirement as the chief of the Miami Springs Police Department. Your many years of dedicated service to the community have left a lasting impact that will be felt by the public for many years to come. Under your leadership, the Miami Springs Police Department has fostered a sense of collaboration and mutual respect between law enforcement and the community. I have long respected and appreciated your collaborative nature and willingness to partner with our office, especially in our fight against human trafficking. Over the past 9 years, you have applied forward-thinking initiatives, equipping our officers with the necessary training to better serve those with disabilities and implementing Coffee with a Cop, increasing the public's accessibility to officers, creating a more inclusive and safer environment. Your leadership will be greatly missed, but we will remain grateful for the positive impact you have had. I wish you all the best in retirement. May this new chapter be filled with happiness, health, and new adventures. On behalf of our entire Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, I thank you for everything you have done to help keep our community a safer place to live, work, and raise our families. If there is anything that my office can ever do for you or the organization, please do not hesitate to call me. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Sincerely, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, State Attorney.
Take care of Mama.
Good night, Chief. Congratulations, Chief. Presentations tonight, so the council and we're going to stay up here. And and announce them from here for the picture taking. So the next item on our agenda, and we are honored to have our school board member, Dan Espino, former council member and former city attorney. A lot of titles there. Here to join us in recognizing Nicholas Acosta as being selected as Miami-Dade County Public Schools Teacher of the Year finalist. And this is a very, very big honor. And we also have the high school principal, Miami Springs Senior High School Principal, Nelson Gonzalez. Nelson, okay, to join us also in this recognition. Come on out. This is an amazing accomplishment to be selected out of, and school board member Espino probably knows how many teachers in Miami-Dade County, to be selected as a finalist, one of 4 finalists for Miami-Dade Teacher of the Year Award. We're extremely proud of Nicholas. Come on up. Councilman. For all he's done, and I'm going to let him talk a little bit about the program. He's made some presentations here at the city before about the amazing program at the high school that he's running. And it really is truly something that makes leaders and careers for our young men and women in high school. They have the option of graduating and starting a full-time career, and this is really exceptional work. And I'll let school board member Dan Espino and the principal also talk about the achievements.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be with all of you. First and foremost, congratulations, Miami Springs, on showing what a local government should look and feel like. I mean, this is amazing tonight, so I appreciate being here. Another man of the hour before us has been an awesome night of recognition. Want to stop and recognize what we're all a part of. Yes, it's the largest school district in the state, the 3rd largest in the nation, but it's an A-rated district with the highest graduating rates in the history of Miami-Dade County. And a lot of that has to do with people like Nelson Gonzalez and Nick Acosta. So a round of applause for that. So what can I say? I think we all thought we had it in the bag because his reputation, his work ethic speaks for itself. When I visited the school, I saw kids connecting with Nick Acosta in a way that kids don't always connect. As a second career for Nick, he was able to bring real world practical experience to his lessons to his students, and spearheaded a aviation program as well as a logistics program that's helping fuel the renaissance of Miami Springs Senior High under the leadership of Nelson Gonzalez. It's a high-rated school, but it's something to be proud of the environment, the attention, the excitement of the students, and also the buy-in of all the teachers. It was a superintendent that told me that, not unlike a city manager, a principal has a job of having a foot inside the building and making sure that there's a confidence of his teachers or of all the city staff, but also outside with the buy-in of the community. And I can tell you in a short amount of time that Nelson Gonzalez has the support of the community as well as the teachers. So a round of applause for that. Just one final note about Nick, and I'll let Principal Gonzalez elaborate further on it. But if you want to know the kind of person that he is, when the result didn't go the way we wanted, I went up to him, gave him a hug, and said, and he was like, "Now listen, I'm brokenhearted. I'm sorry." And his response was, "We'll get it next year." Yeah, and that tells you everything you need to know about his work ethic and his dedication to his craft and the kids of our community. At the end of the day, that it's what it's all about. So, from the bottom of my heart, congratulations on the grueling process that he had to go through, the tears and tears of scrutiny in order to get ranked as high as he did. And you're a winner in our book.
Thank you very much.
I really don't have any words to say. I think board member Danny Espino said it all, but I'm going to try to do my best. I have the proud privilege of working at Miami Springs and seeing all the magical things that occur on a daily basis. And unfortunately, because of safety and security, it's very hard for us at times to open up our doors and allow people to come in. So I truly get to witness the power of education on a daily basis. And what happens in Nick Acosta's classroom is magic. His infectious attitude, his spirit, his willingness to pay attention to the details, and not only that, the details in the classroom, but the details in the lives of the students is what makes a great teacher. And because of that, and because of that power, Miami Springs Senior High is a great, great place. he's affected a lot of students and changing their career paths. And that's powerful, but not only in aviation, but anything and everything that they dream of. So because of that, I'm eternally grateful to Nick Acosta and his hard work at Miami Springs Senior High. Thank you all. And now to the man of the hour, Mr. Acosta.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. It's a big honor, to have this award, and I definitely appreciate it. But I'd be remiss to say if it wasn't, it's a team effort. It's not just me. Like, yes, the recognition goes to me, but this is a team effort. It's a whole school thing. It's I remember the days I graduated from Miami Springs Senior High in 2009, and I remember those days when we had 3,000 students and we're an A school every year. We're the best school around. So it's the inspiration from that I try to get to that. We're trying to get to that level again. And it's like Debbie Hibbett is here tonight. She's one of the teachers of the year that she was a finalist back in 2000. Was it 2000? 2002. I was close. But it's teachers like her. It's teachers like her that are my inspiration. To try to create quality education. And create that great experience for our students. I'd like to take a minute just to pitch our aviation program. We're really, trying to get more. It's a great program, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it. The kids get 27 college credits of dual enrollment. It's I have connections all over Miami at United, American Airlines, Delta, Boeing. So if you have any students that are middle school aged, that are interested in aviation or flying drones, they get their Part 107 drone license. They get their ground school done. They get 27 college credits of dual enrollment, which is unheard of. So if anybody that's interested in joining that program, definitely, help us get the word out. It takes a village to help get this program to grow. So I'd like to thank all my colleagues, all my family, and thank the community, because the community's been phenomenal in helping us. Whenever I need a guest speaker, field trip, or anything like that. Everybody's really stepped up. So it's really a team effort. So thank you all and have a great rest of your night.
And I just wanted to say that the aviation program that Nick and Principal Gonzalez are running at Miami Springs Senior High is so incredibly timely with our community as we prepare for celebrating our centennial as an aviation city founded by an aviation pioneer. And to have this, it's just connect the dots. It's all really fitting into place. So we're so proud that you have this program going. Principal Gonzalez, all the work that you do for our community. And Nick, we couldn't be prouder of you. So thank you so much for providing that kind of mentorship and leadership for our students.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Nick.
Hey, thank you. Yes. Yes, no, we'll go ahead and do the Women's Club because we'll go in order. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, I have to apologize to the Women's Club. I told them we'll be first on the agenda, but what I meant is you're first on the agenda because it's awards and presentations, but it didn't mean, I thought of that later. I just mean it's the first item on the agenda, the awards and presentations. So our next presentation is recognition of the Miami Springs Women's Club for hosting the annual Health and Wellness Fair. This is a fair that has become, is it the 8th year, 9th year, Elizabeth? And please come on up. I'm going to have Elizabeth Fisher, the committee chair. And we have so many members here of the Women's Club. I think everyone knows how I feel about our civic clubs in Miami Springs. We are blessed There's no other community, and I talked to a lot of elected officials throughout the state, and there's no other community that has the civic clubs that our community has, the amount of engagement, the hard work that they do, not just for us, but across the board, nationally, statewide, nationally, and internationally. And the annual Health and Wellness Fair that the Women's Club hosts has become such a big event. And we're very, very grateful for quality of life. Healthy living is a very big, important factor in Miami Springs. And so thanks to Elizabeth as the chairperson and all the members of the Women's Club, which I know they all pitch in very, very hard, that has become something that on an annual commitment, we really, really achieve for our community. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much. And I'd like to, yes. We'll take a photo, but I'd also like to.
Sure, very briefly. The Health and Wellness Fair started in 2015, and you're looking at the amazing committee members that helped make this possible. It's really been such a delight to be able to offer this to our community free of cost. There's no charge to attend. There's no charge for the presenters to come. Committee, please come forward. Please come forward. This year was particularly touching. Around 6 o'clock as we opened the doors of the clubhouse, I was quite startled. There was a gentleman there with small children. And I said, oh, we don't start till 10 o'clock. And he said, oh, I wanted to be here early. And I said, well, why don't you have breakfast? No, I don't want to miss a chance to get my children vaccinated. We offered vaccines among many other things. And then slowly the line started forming down the street. By 8 o'clock, there was 25 people online, families with children coming to get vaccines, among other things. So it was really special. As people checked in, we saw they came from as far as Homestead up to Broward, to our beautiful city, truly in the center of it all, to receive health and wellness items. So thank you to our community for supporting this, to our city for being there with the barriers, the barricades closing down the street for us, and all the great things. And this amazing group of wonderful committee members and the Miami Springs Women's Club that makes it happen every year. We've done it 8 years, took a little pause for the pandemic, and plan to be back again next year. So look for us in January and come out and get some health and wellness tips. Thank you.
On behalf of the City Council, the City of Miami Springs, and our residents, this is a certificate of recognition. This plaque is to the Greater Federation of Women's Club, Miami Springs Women's Club, for organizing the 8th Annual Health and Wellness Community Fair, as well as your constant dedication and contribution to the health and wellness and welfare of our community. And we're eternally grateful. And Elizabeth, this is the committee, but how many members of the Women's Club participated, and how many other people, not just attendees, but others that you drew from all communities all over?
We probably had about 400 attendees that came and visited the fair, over 50 presenters, and of our Women's Club, maybe 50, 60 members were there to make it happen. So I'd like to receive this together with our president.
Thank you. And this is truly an event that every year gets bigger and better. So we're really excited to see what happens next year. Okay. Next on, under our awards and presentations, we would like to recognize the STEAM students from Miami Springs Elementary. And I'm going to call out their names. We're really excited that this is an amazing group of students. This is an elementary school that has participated in these competitions and placed very highly. And so I'm going to call out the names of all the students. Please come up if you're here. Allison Diaz, Giovanni Tapanis, Natalie Perez, Benjamin Owens. And these students participated in the mousetrap competition. We have Matthias Cardenas, Joanna Abreu Martinez, and Benjamin Owens, who participated in the robotics competition. And we have Avery Pearson, who earned a silver medal for her science fair project. Avery, she here? Okay. And Marley Gonzalez, who earned a bronze medal for her science fair project. Ethan Gonzalez, participant in the science fair project. Aria Pirogeni, Jonathan Lavaya, and Benjamin Owens, who created, painted, and presented the SEGME banner. And in addition, Miami Springs Elementary earned a silver in the school designation program for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. So this is an elementary school right here in our community that has done so much, and we're very grateful to these students. And I'll let school board member Dan Espino elaborate on.
Well, on behalf of District 5 at Miami-Dade County Public Schools, congratulations. My eldest was in the mousetrap car competition, and that was 14 weeks. So again, you guys put in a lot of hard work, a lot of grueling competition to turn what you learn in the classroom into what you can make in real life. So you guys are all junior engineers, you're artists, and on behalf of our community, congratulations on bringing some well-recognized awards to our city. Congratulations.
1 second, I believe the teacher is here. Your teacher's Mendiola is here. Please come on up. And Ms. Suarez, come on up, please. Thank you. Oh, the robotics teacher, please come on up.
And our principal.
And your principal. Please come on up. We're so thankful for the work that you do with our students and with oh no. Oh my goodness. That is Miami Springs. Oh my goodness.
Mayor, can I go sit down?
Hold on. Let's see if that's it. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. To the students, I just want to tell you, to the STEAM students, just like you've made your parents proud and your teachers proud, you've made us proud. You've made Miami Springs proud, and we thank you for that.
It was a go, James? It was a go? They communicated. Okay. Okay. It was all about. In the back. Yeah. Right here, no.
Yes, I just.
Okay, all right.
There's a temple. Just wait for Jackie to come back.
This is the resolution, right?
We'll continue with the meeting in just a moment.
We have open forum now?
I'm gonna let the Boy Scouts go first, just so that they can. One second. Okay, if the council will allow me, I would like to move item 12A up to the next so that their Boy Scouts can go home and get their homework and everything ready for tomorrow. So with that said, we have a request by James Fulton. James, are you going to speak or?
I will speak. I'm the new
Okay,
Scoutmaster.
all right. Please give us your name.
I'm Vincent Vigna.
Okay.
New Scoutmaster. He's a new Scoutmaster.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and distinguished council members. It's an honor and a pleasure to be back here once again. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the wonderful things you do for our city. I know you are passionate about our little oasis in Miami-Dade County, as are we. We thank you for helping to keep the community both safe and beautiful. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Vincent Vigna, and I have the honor and privilege of leading local Boy Scout Troop 334 as Scoutmaster. As many of you are probably aware, the aims of scouting are character development, leadership development, citizenship training, and personal fitness. We strive to prepare both young men and women for the future by instilling in them the highest ethical and moral standards, including teaching them the value of providing service to others and preparing them for the future leaders of tomorrow. My own personal journey started as a young boy in the second grade when I signed up for the Cub Scout program. Many of the values and lessons that helped shape my own personal life and decisions are the direct result of the scouting program. Many of you are aware of the good works of our local Boy Scout unit that have been provided to our community. Last year, we had the privilege of helping 3 of our local youth achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest distinction in the scouting program. These youth projects had an direct impact on beautifying and improving our community, including a plaque recognizing our local first responders, a centrally located American flag retirement box, and the landscape beautification project for our local women's club. One of the ways that we help support our youth advance through the scouting program and provide opportunities for leadership development is through participating in a summer camp program. For most youth, participating in summer camp is the highlight of the scout year. Summer camp provides unique opportunities for our youth to develop new skills and complete rank advancements that are necessary to progress through the program that would be otherwise difficult to fulfill in an overnight or weekend event. This year, our unit is providing different opportunities to our scouts to participate in a summer camp experience. For our younger scouts, they will be heading to Camp Raven Knob in the mountains of North Carolina. There, they will learn to be proficient in scoutcraft, as well as participate in activities such as canoeing, kayaking, swimming, hiking, fishing, citizenship development, and nature studies. You may be happy to hear that this year our scouts have decided to head to Camp by Amtrak train, which not only adds to the adventure, but also helps reduce our carbon footprint by keeping our cars off the road by using public transportation. For our older scouts, most will be heading to Sea Base in the Florida Keys. For those of you not familiar with Sea Base, this is one of our 4 national high adventure bases in the Boy Scout program. We have 2 Sea Base cruise planned for this summer. I will be leading the land-based scuba adventure, where our scouts will spend 1 week participating in multiple 2-tank dives per day in the Florida Keys. Our second crew will spend 1 week living out at sea on a boat on a similar dive adventure. Participating in summer camp can be a financial challenge for some of our families. One of the ways that we help make these opportunities both possible and affordable is through our local fundraising efforts. Today, I stand here before you asking if the city would consider making a financial donation in support of our local scouting program. Any funds to us today would go towards helping bring down the cost of summer camp. Participating in summer camp helps keep our youth motivated in the program, which in turn helps our community by keeping them involved in scouting and helping to support our future leaders of tomorrow. Your generosity would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to just remind the council that we do have a fund for this. We have allocated, we authorized a max of $500 for request of this nature.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we allocate $500 for this program.
Second that.
All right, any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Santeen,
Yes.
Councilman Behet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes,
The
all
motion carries.
right. Thank you, Scouts,
so
and enjoy camp. And thank you for everything you do in the community for us throughout the year.
Growing up with the best.
We'll stand up in that way. We don't go. It's okay. Are you okay to stand? Yeah. Kind of.
Hey, everybody smile.
They're ready to take a picture. And then you can.
Smile. And test.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
See you tomorrow, William.
In your school. Jim, did you want to speak also? Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just want to say thank you to everybody and have a great night. All right.
Thank you.
And to you and Vincent, thank you for mentoring and all the hard work you do with the scouting program to show these scouts the many skills that they learn for so many years. That's invaluable to our community and to our future leaders.
I think I can speak for both of us, but we get more out of this than they do.
Through the chair,
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
also
Mr.
for his second son that's serving in the
James?
Marine Corps.
Oh,
You're not asking about the optimist?
Not tonight, no.
Okay.
Okay.
good. All right.
all right. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Okay.
Take care. Good night.
Okay, so now we will move to open forum, and I want to thank everyone who signed up to speak at open forum for your patience. And we'll get started. I want to remind those of you that are going to speak that open forum is, sorry, am I on it? Okay. Open forum is set up so that you can speak to all of us at one time. You have our undivided attention. We do not respond at open forum. We are all ears. It's one way of communication, literally. If you have anything that you want to ask more questions about, what you discussed, please reach out to our city manager, city staff, city clerk, either after the meeting or tomorrow or later in the week to follow up on it, okay? And please keep your, we have a smaller group today, so I'll ask you to keep it under 3 minutes. So we'll get started with Mikey. Hey, Mikey.
Mikey.
Michael Gavilla, 223 North Royal Pointe Siena Boulevard. I am kind of suggesting maybe sometime we put it on the ballot, maybe possibly changing our election with the presidential and the governor elections, because I think we will get a higher turnout than we would do in our normal April election. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Stephen Owens.
Hi, good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm here to speak out in support of Match Point Tennis. I have 3 children that have been in Match Point Tennis for almost 3 years now. My oldest daughter, her last month was in January. That's because she is 14, or that's because she started high school, and she goes to a school that's very far away, and she has a lot of homework. And so for the first half of the year, the school year, she was in tennis. And so I think that Match Point Tennis is an excellent program. And if you're unsure of the work that they do, just drive by the tennis courts or go stop by any evening, Monday through Friday, and you'll see it's vibrant. There's lots of children there, and they're learning tennis. They're having fun. As a matter of fact, my son, two of my kids are here now. My son actually, you presented, recognized him for the STEAM awards. So this is something that I think should stay in place. I think that the children there have been working with the coaches for several years now. I know that my children, it's coming up on 3 years, and I just think it would be a disservice to change that. I can't say enough about how awesome the program is. Coach Silvio, Coach Thomas, they've been there for 3 years. They've worked, they know the children, they work very well with them. Coach Brad is doing a great job with the program, and I know that he inherited it from Manny, who that's what the contract started, where this whole thing started. And Manny had done a great job of building it up. And I'd like to speak personally. I was a student of the tennis program back in the day, back in the 1990s with Joel Watts, who was a city employee at that time. And so I know that you've done some things differently, and I know you're going about, renewing the contract and also seeking any, I guess, bids or whatever. But I think as a parent and somebody who has children there, I think to change it would be a disservice to the kids because there's just too many unknowns. And another point that I'd like to make to the city is that over the past 15 years, you've invested in every single parks and recreation program. The rec center got rebuilt. The pool got rebuilt. Prince Field has been rebuilt. The tot lots, I mean, you name it. Now the golf course is being redone. But there has been no significant investment in the tennis courts. And the racquetball courts are just deplorable. And the tennis courts, you resurface them every few years, but they still puddle in the same spots. They still have cracks in the same spots. And I know that right now there's this whole issue with the pickleball. And so I'm personally in favor of splitting the tennis courts with the pickleball. Fine, make it even, 4 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts. But my point that I want to make is pickleball came up very fast. And we don't know how long this fad is going to last for. And is pickleball going to be around 5 years from now, 10 years from now? As far as tennis is concerned, tennis is very big in Miami. Miami is one. Is that my time?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much. But we do host the Miami Open, and it's only one of a handful of cities.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is our former council member, Bob Best.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I guess I picked a pretty good night to come to a council meeting, huh? I don't remember this chamber ever been as full as it was tonight in the couple of years I sat up there. But I just wanted to speak tonight principally on behalf of Chief Guzman. The chief and I have one commonality once we learned to know one another, and that was that we both went to Catholic high school together. He to Berlin and myself to Seton Hall, and it kind of built on that. He, over his tenure, has accomplished many amazing things with this department. Certainly bringing on new officers, the promotion schedule that he abided by, and his adherence to the military, as he alluded to before, referencing Councilman Vasquez. Myself being a veteran as well, really took that to heart. So we certainly wish him well going forward. I think that we're situated with a very excellent replacement in Jimmy Deal, who's a good friend of mine, and he certainly deserves the position. I know I got 3 minutes. So secondly, I wanted to speak on the War Memorial for a minute. I'd like to thank all of the residents and certainly council and the city manager, J.C. Jimenez, for the partnership that we have shared on the War Memorial Committee in terms of what we've accomplished up to this time. And we still have a date to try and get this thing done by May 30th. So I know it's a push, but I think it's doable. Finally, I'd like to speak just briefly on Public Works. And these guys are really, shall we say, underappreciated in this town. I know some appreciate them because of what they do and how they keep the town looking so nice. But, we've had a couple of hiccups lately with sanitation and this and that. And they quickly recovered, I might add, Mr. Manager, and nicely. But the other thing is that, you know, it's been a long time since I've seen that vac truck out. And I know we're doing serious construction over on the east side relative to the stormwater, but I know we spent a lot of money several years ago on a vac truck, and I haven't seen it out and about. Just curious on that. Thank you for entertaining me, and I appreciate it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, next for public forum is Matthew, is it Gonzalez? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Matthew Gonzalez, and I like to talk about tennis. I promise I have other interests. I just wanted to thank the city council and the city staff for being so receptive to my opinions about tennis in the city. I also wanted to take a moment to say that I've voiced many concerns over the current contract governing the tennis center, but I think it's all fixable, especially under the leadership of our new city manager. That said, I want to ensure that any of the concerns that I've brought up in the past don't affect anyone from getting a fair shake throughout the RFP process, including Mr. Brad Mixon, who's here today, submitted his own proposal to the city and was not involved in the drafting of the current contract. Last, I want to reiterate that the tennis and the pickleball community are absolutely starved for information. Any updates that can be given about the process, the changes happening at the courts, including timelines for current upgrades, would be much appreciated. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
just want to remind council we're in a cone of silence still on this, okay?
Yes. And we will continue. That ends open forum of everyone that signed up to speak for open forum. So we will move to agenda item 6, approval of council minutes for the February 12th regular meeting.
Motion to approve 6A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Santeen,
Yes.
Councilman Behet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. 1 second. I think I'm looking at this other agenda. Under public hearing, we do have a public hearing tonight, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at an older
We
agenda.
did
Okay,
the
sorry.
vulnerability assessment.
Okay, under item 8, we have a public hearing for a resolution, and I'll let Heidi, our city attorney, start with describing the resolution.
This is a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting the city's vulnerability assessment and adaptation action plan report and providing for an effective date. This evening, you have a presentation by Jose Lopez of Vermelo Ajamil, who serve as the city's engineers, and he'll be presenting on this.
Hello.
Good night, council. Yeah, nice seeing you again. It's been a while, but hopefully. How do you go?
It's over there. The computer. You have to point it over there. Over there. No?
Oh, there you go.
He'll change it for
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Thank you. This is like, I feel like you're on Netflix and you have the first season, there will be a second season, basically. This is a follow-up. We did the vulnerability assessment a few months ago, and this is the second step, what we're doing. Now that we know what happened, we try to evaluate different alternatives and see what can we do to episode 3, that will be in the future. Basically, as you see, if you remember on the first vulnerability assessment, we identified these 5 areas in the city that are considered a focus area, vulnerable. The first one is A, which is the Barrow Canal. B is the urban area, exactly where we're standing right now. C is the Stafford Park and Oakwood. D is the golf course, and E is the community center. So those are the areas that within the city we identified are critical for sea level rise and vulnerability. So with that, it says, what are the risks that we have to identify? First is loss of power. And there is a whole report. So I know this is a very long presentation. I try to make sure it's late, and I'm trying to focus. This is like an hour presentation. I'll try to make it 20 minutes if I can. So, but anyway, you're talking loss of powers, natural resources, the impact that you have on infrastructure, like loss of properties and inability to have access. If you have an emergency, there's flooding. I mean, can I go with the fire truck, with an ambulance? And there's also health risk impact, because when you have contamination of the potable water, and you have the potable waters in the wells that are in the Gulf Coast of Miami-Dade County, So that's also a risk that we have to evaluate. And also social disruption. So based on that, we're going to.
Next slide.
Yeah, you have it, make it easier. Okay, go ahead. We evaluated, these are the 9 alternatives that were pretty much standard for the state of whole of Florida. We go from seawalls and rebasement, drainage improvements, relocate utilities, raise infrastructure, elevate roadways, flood control, flood proofing, and go ahead next. So I'm going to spend 1 minute in each one. Seawall and rock rebasement, a typical example of this adaptation action plan is with the Merlo Canal or the C6, where you're talking about improving seawalls. You're talking about raising the existing level to be prepared for future. Go the next one. This is drainage improvements. This is one thing that the city can piggyback to the program that Miami-Dade County is doing. Like one of the things they're doing, improving, replacing impervious pavement for pervious. We have one of the things that we're doing in the East Road is using impervious sidewalks, for example, for bike paths. That's one thing. There's a lot of alternatives that you can do to improve the drainage. So anything that you can improve in drainage, it will help you to improve flooding. Go ahead, next one. The other one is relocate utilities or like critical assets. If you have emergency generator, for example, you have to raise it 2-3 feet above the sea level rise. Okay, next one. Raise infrastructure. If you have it, raise roads or raise houses. Go ahead, next one. Elevate roadways. That's another alternative that you have. That this is a very tricky, if you want to go back to elevate road, because it seems very easy, you raise, but there's also, and that's very common in the, like you go to Miami Beach, for example, because when you raise the road, you create a problem because now you're flooding in other areas that you're used to. So then how you solve it that? And it's very expensive too. Here we're talking about probably like $1 million a mile, and there's also a large impact. So it's something that needs to be considered, but you need to be very careful because it's not that easy. Just elevate the road and the problem is over. It is not. Okay, go next one. Flood control pump is a typical example of what we're doing right now for Oakwood, where we put a pump station where you get the storm water, the runoff from Stafford Park and the areas on Miller Drive and Sheridan, and move through Oakwood and get to a pump station to the C6. For another one. Flood proofing, that's one thing that there's 2 types of, you have flood proofing, that one is wet or dry. When you have dry, you just put like barriers, like in this case, what you're about is if you have a flood, to keep it, the building dry. The other option is you design your building for flooding. You allow the water to go through. The point you use materials and you don't put any of the equipment that consider critical into the road. So you raise your infrastructure. That's when we're talking about flood proofing. And that would require you design the building for flood. Okay. Next one, there's only 2 more. Go next.
Next slide.
Okay. Well, that's, yeah, managed retreat is pretty much leave. Just close the door and move out. That's one of the alternatives, but you have to consider. And the 9th is relates, you on the next slide, is changes policy. If you have anything that the city can do in terms of ordinance or regulations to be prepared for future developments. So with that, get next slide. And this is the end, pretty much. That's what we have it right now. And these are the projects that we work with Tammy, Liz, Lazaro. You have fantastic staff. They were really helpful. So I'm here presenting, but they take all the credit. They say, Alejandro, they sit in the back. So it takes a lot of work. And this is pretty much the bottom line where you identify what are the projects that are critical for the city. And the thing is this is very important because to be available or be ready for future funding, you do have to be in this list. So if you're not having this list, you will not be able to apply for funding. And you have the Metro Canal, which is number one right now. We're asking for state legislature. It's on the list for projects to be funded. We tried several ways, and unfortunately, I don't want to go there, but it was not funded. It was not selected. And we do have the South Rio Posiana, we just finished. We're currently working on the East Drive, and all good, it's ongoing. We also have the Who Square, is up going for bid Wednesday. We'll have the mandatory pre-bid meeting at the city. We have South Drive, which is coming next. And then we have the other projects that are also in the wish list, let's put it this way. Including there are 2 or 3 at the bottom that you can identify. One of them is relocating the city hall, police department, because this is an area that it proves that it is critical. You will have flooding in the next year. So one of the options that you have is you have to consider, you're not going to do it now, but something that you have to consider relocated the police department, fire department, and your city hall. And the other one is the Forest Drive, stormwater. So basically, with that, you want to get the last one? Okay, so this is pretty much summaries where they stand right now. And this report we submitted to FDP for approval. And this is where we're going from here. What is next? And these are the recommendations that we have. The first one is to update the existing stormwater master plan, which is really old. It's so like 25th, I think, 20 years, no? It's really old. So that's one thing that should be in your wish list. We're asking for legislation fund to do that. And then the other thing that you have, what things that you can do to flood-proof the city. That's number 2. Prioritize the natural systems, explore raising infrastructure, including roads, bank stabilization, and seawalls. Designate, recognize growth and comprehensive planning and post-disaster developments. Encourage growth in higher areas. Promote community engagement, coordinate with agencies and organize workshops, and emphasize that investing today can save funding in future mitigation efforts. And that's very, very important. We have it, Broward County is ahead, and they're showing the impact that you have do nothing right now, and the impact that could have in the next 15 to 20 years instead of property values, insurance. And so that's something I need to consider, that probably no action or do nothing is one of the things that you can consider, but it's not cost effective. And these are conclusions that we got from, we did have a couple of surveys, which is part of them. So we have a great turnout. A lot of people responded to the survey. And this kind of summarizes the staff recommendations. We do have a steering committee also with the South Florida Waterfront District, Miami-Dade County, local organizations. And this is pretty much summaries where we stand right now. And with that, hopefully, you don't have to see me for a long time now. So I'm pretty much done on the second part, and we can move forward. So with that, if you have any question or anything, I'd love to have it. We have the report there. You're available to review and comment. And the contract, this is an agreement. It didn't cost a penny to the city, so you have 100% refundable, reimbursed by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So this is a great study, gives you a tool for you to prepare for future funding, because now you can go back and say, hey, give me some money. I have this one that we need to do this and that. So, and that's the advantage that the requirement that they have the cities to do that.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like the motion that we adopt this resolution 8.
Second.
Is that the
8A.
right program?
Yep.
Got the
You have a
resolution.
second? Any
Second.
discussion? I do have
Okay,
a few questions.
Yeah,
because I
sure.
just while we're on this. This updating the stormwater master plan.
Yes.
That's a cost that the city needs to absorb, but it's possible to get grant
No,
money for that. Or that's something.
I try everywhere to get you funding. No,
Mhm.
you can't.
Okay.
They will not, I'm sorry to say, but Miami Springs is considered a very rich area. So that's the first thing they ask. It's why they have it. No, I try, believe me. I
And-
worked for 14 years at the South Florida Waterfront District, and they used to, like I was a manager for Broward County, and they did master plan for West Park, for example. And they did also, we helped Miami and Medley. But that was the old time. Right now,
Mhm.
you are on your own. I'm sorry.
And about how long does that take to develop that plan? What are we looking at to?
Well, you have it that. I mean, it's
Well, I guess update it because we have one.
yeah,
It's what we're talking about is update a 20-year-old plan. Obviously,
Right. my
predictions have
company did
changed
the
a
original,
lot.
but
Pardon me?
ex-company.
Mhm.
It was Post-Buckley and Associates, which it was Vermelho Jamil was one of them. So we did the original plan. I had that, and it wasn't complete 100%. And the beauty with that there's a lot of information that it relates to modeling and flooding that we did in this report that would be part of the stormwater master plan. So it's not that much. I think we budget like 200. Do you remember? I think we budget like $200,000, something like that. So it's up to state legislation. See if we're lucky and got it. And probably it will take more than 6 months to do that. But the thing is, get your plan now. And you do have, it was not complete because very old. You have a lot of infrastructure that is on C6 that was not included, including the Who Square pump station. It was not listed, for example. So you need to upgrade all the critical infrastructure and everything. But that's what it is. Okay. I'm not trying, believe me, I tried to get you funding, but no luck.
So I guess what I'm asking is with these conclusions and recommendations, is this like an order that we need to update the stormwater master plan first, or we can kind of start working
No,
on
you
these
can change.
recommendations at the
It's
same
not, it's
time?
not a specific order, no.
Okay.
We can move it. I didn't put it in order, and well, the report was submitted, but there's nothing wrong if you want to get your recommendation to with the staff and come with the same thing with the projects. You can, that's a list of the project. You're more than welcome to move them and have, that's an ongoing evaluation. So you can change, like right now you have last relocate the building, the public works, but you might want to have it at the beginning. I don't know. Things are changing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm thinking, I know you mentioned we've requested state appropriations for the canal bank
Yes,
reinforcement,
yes,
and
yes.
I'm not sure how that'll work, but I was just thinking, JC, also with Congressman Diaz-Balart, the funding that they brought to our attention, that they perhaps we can use that, apply for infrastructure for the canal bank.
Yeah.
If
you can,
because that's not just the Melrose Canal, it's the Esplanade finish part of
It was
that, and then
phase
it
part,
goes
it was
into
going
Melrose.
from- Yeah, only to the golf course, not from the golf course all the way to
Right.
here.
But we need
Only
to
the first
do
phase.
Melrose
Yes, it's called
to the golf
Esplanade.
course and then Esplanade.
We call it Esplanade.
I think we've done part of it with funding that we got from the state years ago, but we've never gotten additional funding to complete the project. So
Completed.
here's, okay.
Yeah, the funding, I saw the list, really, it ranked really high, it ranked like 50 out of 200 projects. But the state only funded the first like 16 projects. And I don't want to say anything, but the way that they did, they decided to give multi-million, the South Florida Water Management District, for example, they had $100 million in 4 projects. So instead of spread the wealth and give it to several municipalities like yours, they have 200, 300, 400, 800, they didn't pick that one. So they decided to fund really large projects. They have like a $40 million to a wastewater treatment plant in Port St. Lucie, for example. So they pick really large projects with a lot of money. So that's why they only have like 160 million, and they only got very few projects that were funded. And you were one of them that it was not funded. You ran high, you ran like 50, but it's not high enough. So I'm sorry.
And, you know, and something that I want to bring to the council, because this is like an ongoing concern that we need to deal with. And like you said, you know, we can't ignore it. I mean, we have to attack it, but other communities are also doing this, and water doesn't know boundaries. You know, it doesn't know that that's that municipality. It runs the path of least resistance. So as other communities work on elevating their infrastructure, you know, their stormwater or whatever, when it rains, water is going to run to, so it's not just, you know, we've got to think of the big picture, which is always something that concerns me. I think I've discussed that with who's providing this oversight for all these communities that we border each other, and one's doing something and that their actions are perhaps protecting them, but negatively impacting us.
Absolutely.
And we need to, you know, really be diligent in doing our part and making sure that what's going on around us isn't
That is correct. And you have to consider that you depend 100% on the C6 canal, which will control the South Florida Water Management District. Right now it's connected to tide. So if you have high tide, you will be impacted.
Yeah.
Eventually, that's one of the projects in the wish list. They're going to put a pump station in the C6, but probably will be in the next 40 or 30 years. I don't know what it's thinking. But there is in the plan to have a pump station on C6. But right now you are connected 100%. All your drainage, like you can see what happened now in All Good, the water table is so high because the district is anticipating, because of the Niño, they anticipate a very wet season. So they call wet season. So right now they're opening the levels, the offloads in Okeechobee Canal, and they're getting all the canals are really high. Not only in Miami, but you have it in Port St. Lucie on the West Coast. So they're trying to keep the level of Lake Okeechobee really low because they're prepared for a wet season right now. So that's one of the reasons why C6 is really high. If you look at right now, it's almost 2 feet from the top. It's really high. Yeah. But that's happening right now. So they're preparing. So, and you depend for what the district says, pretty much, because it's your whole drainage is go to C6. And you're absolutely right, because not only you have Medley, you have Hialeah, and then you have City of Miami they're all dependent to the C6.
And the airport,
Which is constantly clearing so that they can open up as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So with that,
Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Bravo?
Yes.
Councilman Santeen?
Yes.
Councilman Behet?
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez?
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jose,
It's
thank
really
you
a pleasure
so
working
much.
with you guys for doing this stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you can, Jose, stay for a moment. Liz, I love saying that.
Listen,
Guys, it sounds like a show, a TV show. We have just coming up something that I want to acknowledge all of the work that all of you have done on this. So let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that someone wants to pull out for discussion on items 9A or B? If not, is there a motion to accept consent agenda?
Motion to approve 9A and B, please.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I have a question about 9A. Omar, are we still getting a contribution from the Village of Virginia Gardens like we used to in the past?
Evening. Yes, $4,000.
4,000. Okay. Used to be more, right?
No, that's
about what
yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Okay. But we basically take on the bill and then they provide us a contribution.
That's correct.
Okay.
And actually, I did want to pull this item for discussion. So pardon me, I asked if there was for further discussion. Okay, with the fireworks display, there's several, I guess, questions that I have. One of them is the golf course, whether it'll be ready.
It all depends on where we set the fireworks off. I believe we can accommodate. But we have to be extra careful because of the new sod. I don't want anybody trampling it all.
Right. So depending on when it's good, and right now we really don't know yet when we can open.
No, as far as the opening, I'm expecting first week of April opening. I was going to give an update after.
Okay. So Omar, in the past few years since the pandemic, I guess, started, is this the same company we've used in the
Yes,
past? Okay.
yes.
So they have been willing to work with us, knowing that we have, with the pandemic and then last year with the golf course, of allowing us to a grace period of backing out and saying we're not going to have that. What is the status of that right now?
They have it on the agreement, which is they're not allowing us to go in June. It's going to be in May because it's very difficult. They allowed that to happen during COVID because they were trying to garnish as much business as possible. So they were willing to take a hit if we canceled them 30 days out because they didn't have an enormous amount of cities doing fireworks. And the permitting process takes about anywhere between 60 to 90 days. So for them right now, they have so many cities going through the permitting process for them that they have to have at least those 60 days out. Or if we start, if they won't let us go to June like we've done in the past. She said it'll be extremely difficult for them to do that because it'll just set them up for failure because they have to order an enormous amount of fireworks for all these cities. They do a bulk order that covers basically all their contracts and agreements with all the other cities they're doing business with. Plus, they do all the permitting at once. So for us to be singled out like that for them would cause an issue for them financially.
So if I'm understanding correctly, by May 4th?
I think is it May 4th?
Or
I think it's, I don't know if it's on there, but I think it's like the first week of May, correct?
After first, then we're penalized $3,000.
Oh, by May 1st.
First.
Okay, so really by the end of June.
No, the end.
I mean, excuse me, the end of April.
End of April.
Going backwards, the wrong way. By the end of April, which is 2 months.
That's why we're here.
Mayor, by that time, we will have more than enough time to know if we can do it or not. So I'm confident that
Okay.
we'll have enough time to cancel. If need be, hopefully we won't, but at least we'll have the approval now, so we don't miss out.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so that's all we're doing right now is approving it, and then we'll
We can cancel
up
before
to
May 1st.
the end of April, if we find that the golf course just can't handle the event. Okay.
Is it possible to put barriers up like we had earlier in the project in order to protect certain areas, like in the back nine or something like that?
We can work with staff to see where we want to, for crowd control, where we rather have the crowd, and we can do something like that, and protect the areas that are a little weak.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
We have a first and a second for the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Call the vote, please. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Bravo?
Yes.
Councilman Santeen?
Yes.
Councilman Behet?
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez?
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. We move to other business, agenda item 12. I believe Jim said he'll come for the second part of that another time. Okay, so agenda item 12B. And I just wanted to announce that the City of Miami Springs has been nominated for the 2024 Safe Streets Summit Complete Streets Community Award for our South Royal Poinciana project, roadway improvement project. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the summit, the 2024 Safe Streets at the Intercontinental Miami Hotel, downtown Miami, February 29th through March 1st of this year. The purpose of the summit is transforming Southeast Florida, all of the Southeast part of Florida, into a vibrant, connected community where safe, sustainable, and accessible streets empower everyone. The summit is the catalyst for change where collaboration, innovation, and advocacy unite to create streets that truly belong to everyone. And we received about a week or two ago notice that our South Royal Poinciana Street Improvement Project, which was completed in 2023, thanks to the hard work of our Public Works Department, Lazaro Garaboa, who's here, our director, our I never know, Liz, exactly what your title is, but assistant director of the Public Works Department, or at least you take that function, Liz Fuentes, and our assistant city manager, Tammy Romero, along with all of their staff, have been really worked very, very hard on that project, along with our engineering group, Jose Lopez and his group from Bermejo Ajamil. So we're very grateful for that. The summit itself, the winner will be announced on February 29th at the summit. And this honors significant contributions to implementing Complete Streets. The Complete Streets Community Award is granted to local government or organizations in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, recognizing outstanding community engagement efforts. One award is allocated per county. So I wanted to thank all of you involved in this project for our community. It's a beautiful project. And now we're moving on to East Drive, Oakwood, later to South Drive. So we're doing very impressive infrastructure improvements in our community. And that is because of the hard work of these people that I mentioned. So thank you for that. We're very grateful. Okay, so the other thing I have on the agenda, other business, is a request that I wanted to discuss the FDOT Iron Triangle public meeting that was held at the Miami Springs Community Center on February 21st, last Wednesday. And just to briefly, what I want to do is just memorialize that FDOT hosted a meeting on the Iron Triangle. For those of you that don't know, the Iron Triangle project is what FDOT selected this name, the intersection of Lejeune and Northwest 36th Street. And their proposal, what they're looking at doing, and the purpose of this public meeting is to tell the community that what they'd like to do is extend the westbound ramp from the 112 Expressway. When you're coming from downtown on 112 Expressway and heading west toward Northwest 36th Street, they want to extend that ramp into Miami Springs, and basically several streets into Miami Springs, which I personally am very against. I can't see anything good that happens under an overpass, and it would negatively impact our southeast business area that we're working so diligently to look at rezoning and, attracting more investment and development in that area. So it's very important. We had a really good turnout at this public meeting, but I don't want anyone to let their guard down. This is a project that's going to take several years. And there's another FDOT project. I've mentioned this before in the meetings, and it's really important that our community be vigilant and engaged in these projects, because FDOT, it's their responsibility to look at the big picture, to move traffic throughout the county, and they're doing their job. They're doing what they were hired to do, is look at moving traffic throughout the city, throughout the county. It's our responsibility as a community to make sure that whatever is done does not negatively impact us. And I'll go further than that. We should get a benefit from it. If there's any work being done in surrounding our community or within our community by FDOT, we should get improvements, necessary improvements. And this is something that is not going away anytime soon. So please, when you see that there's a public meeting, and there's going to be several more, they're in the PD&E phase right now. It's really important that the community turn out and voice their concerns. There's other ways to move traffic from downtown Miami without making an overpass into Miami Springs. And the only purpose for that is to just facilitate traffic going through west to the Palmetto Expressway and Doral and all these other places. And that's our living room. So I just wanted to make that statement that there was the meeting held, and there'll be more. And I cannot stress enough how important it is for the community to be involved in those. The last thing I'll say with that is, in the past, years ago, FDOT sliced away at our sidewalks on Northwest 36th Street to create more traffic movement, and it was accepted by our community. And not that long ago, they created a ramp that cuts the east part of our Miami Springs, of city of Miami Springs. Instead of being able to go down South Royal Poinciana, at one time you could go down South Royal Poinciana and connect with the rest of Miami Springs on North River Drive to the Holiday Inn in that area, and also what we call the Abraham Track, all the hotels that are in that area east of the airport that are part of Miami Springs. There was a ramp built, and it just basically cut our city in two. And it does move traffic, north and south on Lejeune. To benefit who? To benefit traffic movement, but at our cost, at the peril of our community. And again, the only way that these projects can take place is if our community lets their guard down and says, well, FDOT wants to do this. The reason for the public meetings is that they're required to hold public meetings and get community input. Let them know what's proposed and get community input before they can proceed. And there's several options. One is no build, do nothing. The next option is do signaling and other changes that are major infrastructure changes, but they allow the movement of traffic. And the third option is doing massive infrastructure changes, which is what's been done in the past and what's being proposed. So again, I can't stress it enough. This is going to, this next year that we have the community involvement for that to make sure any improvement, any work that is done, we benefit from it. And I want to stress, FDOT has been a very, very, what would I say, cooperative, engaged in our community, listening. So I want to thank them. The Transportation Secretary, Stacy Miller, visited Miami Springs. Stacy and I invited her to visit Miami Springs last week, and we took her on a tour. And she's very committed to making sure that whatever work FDOT does is, that the communities are happy with it and are accepting with it. So I want to thank FDOT for their collaboration on this and working with us and keeping us informed and listening to our community. Okay.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure, as I mentioned at the meeting, and we talked a little bit about it with them, it's important that we keep the communication before a lot of these studies that they're going to do, especially with that area that we're talking about rezoning. That's an economic impact that they have no idea what the information is. They just know what our current zoning is, and that has a certain value to that. So when they do their studies, which we talked about and we brought it to their attention, but I think the only way we can assure we have this information, I guess, us as city council and administration, to continue to feed them that information and make sure when they are starting to hire, the company to do the economic impact study, that they got the latest information. Because if not, it's just going to seriously, skew the information.
That's an excellent point, Councilman, and you're right. I mean, I know you brought it up at the meeting, but if you look at that zone now and you're not aware of the zoning, the planning that we're doing for that area, you'd have no idea of the economic impact that this could have. So thank you for bringing that up, and that's extremely important. And some, years ago, this came before the council, and and it happened, and we just kind of accepted it, and I don't think that that we can afford to continue to have, as I've said, Miami Springs sliced and diced for the benefit of traffic moving throughout Miami-Dade County. Our community is extremely important and valuable as every other community in Miami-Dade County. Okay, so we'll move on to a request by Councilman Santeen. Several discussion items.
Are you calling from?
Yes, I just realized I didn't hold a public hearing for the, so let me do that 1 second, if you'll bear with me. I do need to.
On the adaptation,
Mhm.
we received public comments ahead of time,
Okay,
like during the public comment time.
okay, all right.
You're back.
Okay, sorry.
You're back.
No, I'm back. And also, Captain Nihal Pereira, you were signed up to speak on agenda item 12D and E, so.
With your permission, I'd like to add Chair Lady Mrs. Juliana Arias. She wasn't present at the time when I filled it out. She was busy with all the numerous things she does every day. So I'd like to pass it on to the Chair Lady of the Centennial Committee, Mrs. Juliana Arias.
Thank you so much, Captain. Council, Mayor, City Manager, Assistant City Manager, thank you for talking with us again tonight. We appreciate you adding us onto the agenda. The purpose of this is to see if we can finally move forward. As you know, the committee created the Centennial Committee now over a year ago. It has been an entire year and we really haven't been able to move forward. So what is it that I'm requesting? I'm requesting that we please look at specific items that we've already presented. That if you could please vote a yay or nay so that we as a committee can start moving to either solidify them or think of new ideas or figure out, but we're at a place right now where we're kind of stuck. And it's really on you if we can move forward. So if it's okay with you, I would like to go over specific items. If you would please vote on them tonight, that would be phenomenal.
Go ahead.
Great. Okay. So the first one was the aviation playground that was discussed in the beginning. The projected cost of that was from $50,000 to $75,000. It was the idea of creating a playground centered around the aviation concept of airplanes or towers or things of that nature.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
We're not going to vote on each thing
I-
individually right now. We're going
well-
to listen to all of it and then we'll,
Okay.
yes, I'm sorry if I meant go ahead and.
Got it. Okay. The second one would be the Centennial collectible pins. That is something that we would want to get started with right away. The Centennial collectible pins was the idea of having all of our schools, programs, et cetera, create different pins that would be awarded throughout the Centennial year for anyone that actually participated in the events, that wanted to purchase the pins, et cetera. And then it would culminate into the actual Centennial pin, which would be done by a professional artist. That one was the projected cost of $1,250 for about 1,000 pins for a total of $15,000. Prizes for designers could be the actual sets of pins. When we say prizes, is obviously in the different activations that we create throughout the Centennial year. That could be an award that people would earn for participating in all of the different Centennial activities that we put together. The third option was the Centennial Golf Tournament. And it is what it is, a golf tournament, right? But again, based on the Centennial, bringing together different aviation companies, reaching out with all the different connections that Captain Hall has, as well as our other committee member, Alex Aguiar, who works for DOS, which is an airline parts and mechanical company as well, and try to connect with them to go ahead and start moving towards making that golf tournament take place. The fourth is the Centennial release of History of the Miami Springs book. As you know, one of our at-large members, Seth Bramson, he is a historian and he has volunteered to go ahead and write a book based on the city of Miami Springs. He would volunteer his time. He would need the finances in order to get it publicized by the publisher. That's estimated to about $2,000 to $5,000, but he said $2,000 should be sufficient. The last one is, the fifth one is the Centennial tree. And basically it's the concept of having a tree, planting it before the Centennial, and then obviously allowing it to grow. And it would be representation of the Centennial 100th year of the city of Miami Springs. Projected cost on that is $2,500. Then we have the Glenn Curtis Aviation and Food Festival, formerly known as the Taste of Springs. That would be basically reaching out to all of the different restaurants, local as well as outside of Miami Springs, to come in and hopefully start creating an annual celebration of different foods and so on and so forth. Now, we are aware that there is a local organization that has recently decided that they want to adopt that. So of course, we could definitely work with them in that process and obviously be an assistance to them. The goal is to include all of the different organizations as well in making all of these different activities take place. The seventh one is the Glenn Curtis Circle Park nameplate installation and Curtis Parkway renaming. As you know, we do have that monument right there in the Circle Park. Captain, what is the current name of that that you're?
The present name is Glenn Curtis, the Glenn Curtis Park.
Correct.
Present name.
The present name, correct. So the proposal would be to actually make it what? Go ahead and explain that because that's yours.
Yeah, basically, I mentioned this at the meeting 2 weeks ago. Basically, that plaque is very small. It's not even legible. So to enhance it and make it legible where people can see that the name there really is. And we wanted to enhance it to say the nameplate to say Glenn Curtis Circle Park. So it's enhanced so people can see that that's what the circle is named. And
Yeah, correct, because currently everybody knows it as the Circle. So actually making it so everyone understands the actual name. Number 8 is the Glenn Curtis Motorcycle Show, and then the Parkway naming, excuse me, as well. Number 8 is the Glenn Curtis Motorcycle Show and Soapbox Derby Race. Councilman Centine has been working really hard in connecting with an individual who up north does motorcycle shows, and we've all wanted to have a motorcycle show down here in Miami Springs, given the history of Glenn Curtis, and that would be a great way to do that, as well as a soapbox derby race, and that would be actually for the children. Children would be able to grab their bicycles and create the old school game that they used to see with wheels and so on and so forth, and they have wings and they'd be able to race and so on and so forth. Then we have the New Year's Eve fireworks display, which is basically a piggyback on what we currently have, right? We have big New Year celebration, but maybe using certain funds from maybe the fireworks that we didn't do in 2022 or 2021 or so on to help fund that and actually do another firework display New Year's Eve of that year. And then we have the number 10, the school activities in traveling trunk, where you have a trunk that will be passed around to the different schools, basically educating the students in the history of the city of Miami Springs as well as Glen Curtis. Number 11 is the Smithsonian exhibit. There is currently a program through the Smithsonian where every single year they have a different display that they can bring to different cities after you apply and after you go through a certain criteria. In one of the different displays that they have is about aviation. So that's one option. The other option is to also speak with the museum up in Hammondsport to actually bring down items from that were original to the mansion from the Hammondsport Museum down here and display that as well as part of the museum. And that would be an exhibition that would run about 1 month to 2 months. Number 12 would be the statue monument unveiling. That's the one that Captain Hall has been working so deeply and has been so graciously willing to donate $100,000 in order to make that happen. So those are the 12 that we would like to address now. There are others that we can, look as other options, but if we can at least address those, that would be great. One that is urgent is actually the monument. The reason for that is because Captain Hall, in order to do that, would have to put a deposit of $30,000 immediately. And we want to make sure that if he does, his money is secure and is not going anywhere and he doesn't end up with a statue in his front yard. So,
And the
Mayor?
and also
Can we-
the airplane.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm almost certain that at the end of last meeting when you guys presented, we did come to a consensus. I think that you guys had mentioned, I think Kathy Doyle had mentioned that that you guys were waiting on staff in particular to get the accounts ready in order to start receiving donations. And then the comment was made by the city manager that if you were going to be receiving donations, you wanted to be clear about that everything had been approved because you don't want to receive donations for a particular thing and then that thing changes. And so what came up was we said that your two biggest ticket items were the playground and the monument. And my recollection of what happened is that we said rather than, because when we said that, we were like, okay, so then should we try to finalize everything for next meeting, which I thought was kind of a lot to do because there's a lot there, right? And there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Even some of those things, it's still unclear what the costs are. So I'm almost certain what we had consensus to do was we said we'll approve those two biggest ones, right? The playground and the monument, so that that's solidified and we could say that is absolutely happening so that staff could work with you guys. You could start doing the fundraising and you could move forward. I mean, on all the other things, I mean, I think that if you go to staff with this is what we're asking for and what it's going to cost. I know that some of them, right? Like the pins is about $1,250. Mr. Branson's book is about $2,500. The Centennial Tree, but other things there, there's still a lot of moving parts. But we don't want you guys to be held up. And I know, and Councilman Santin, I know you put it on the agenda, so maybe you want to chime in. And you weren't here for that meeting, but my recollection is not that you guys are being held up, but at least not by that. We came to a consensus that those two big ticket items, you could start moving forward. You have the backing of the city that those are going to happen so that you can move forward on those.
wonderful. So then just, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
Yeah.
well, just my thought, just my general thought on this after thinking about it after the meeting. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Chair. What you're looking for is a kind of a general go ahead, providing the monies can be raised for these different things. In other words, the things that you all have outlined you want to do, they're all good things. Of course, they're going to cost money and you're going to be raising money for them. So they're going to happen if the money gets raised. I think what you're looking for is kind of a general acceptance by the council to say, yes, we agree with this general plan, providing that you're able to raise the money. So whichever comes first, whichever you can do first,
you do it. And if at the end of the day, something really it was hard to raise the money for, it's not going to get done. But I think what the committee's looking for is like kind of a general consensus that we like the idea of the things that you're talking about.
Right. I mean, I think they have our general consensus because we've directed them to plan this.
No,
I
but
think I know that you guys have come up with a timeline in terms of a timeline of the events, but maybe so going forward again, playground. The only thing we said, at least if I'm remembering correctly, was we don't want to retrofit an airplane and try to make it safe to be a playground. So we said, go ahead on the playground, go ahead on the monument. And I mean, we're already asking for state appropriations to try to help with the World War II, World War I memorial, which is the same thing. So that you have it rather than a timeline of events. If you come to us with a timeline of, okay, this is something we need to pay now to get started, right? Like the development of the pins or if you come to us with that, then I think that makes it easier. But I'm pretty sure we said start moving forward on that. I don't know what
So
else.
then just to be clear, because I also wasn't.
Okay,
here
wait
the-
1 second. Let's let
Well,
Councilman
this-
Santeen, you said something. you
Well,
wanted
in
to say.
reality, what Councilman Vasquez was just saying, I think, at least I got the consensus from going to the meetings that they weren't very clear. Because, technically, we could scratch any of these ideas, these other ideas.
Right.
So why they're going to spend time on something that we don't even want to talk about because we're not going to support. So yes, we might have mentioned those two, but there's other stuff like the, centennial tree. I mean, just a bunch of little stuff there. At least the main ones you just mentioned. She wants to hear from us that go ahead. Like Councilman Vasquez says, if we don't come up with the fundraising, they have difficulty, there's hurdles on the way, then obviously they have to scratch it. But from the beginning, we're giving them support to go ahead with the idea. There's no idea there that they're going to have to worry about putting all this time and effort. And tomorrow, like, we're never going to approve that. I don't know why you even went through that, So that's all they want to hear is, are we fine with these items to go forward?
Yeah, we need more information.
Well, I think
The top 8
things.
is what she wants.
on some things, say the playground. I love the idea of an aviation playground. I think it's just a fun thing to come visit. It'll be long lasting. It's a reason there's an aviation playground by the airport. So I love that. The property behind the Historical Society. That's not our property. It belongs to the school board, Stafford Park. So there's things that, have to be kind of, if it's not there, we could probably find somewhere else to have it. As long as it's those, I'm kind of hesitant to make concrete things of, yes, that's where we're going to use it. And then we find out, I don't think it'll be a problem. But the truth is, do we want to invest, in an area that, the school board at any moment could say, we need that back. And keeping in mind that, the school board is looking at, just like with the aviation school and all this, looking at thinking outside of the box of what they want to do with their thing. So there's a few things here, the statue, behind the centennial clock and behind the Cavalier clock, and may not be possible to put it there, but we want a statue, of course. So as long as we're fluid on those kinds of things in general, I think one of the things, the Taste of the Springs, the $10,000, I don't think that you're going to need that anytime soon.
No.
That'll be down the
That'll be
road
down.
for.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just so that I'm clear, really what we want is and I apologize, I was not clear that it had been discussed and approved on last meeting. But what we want is we understand that all of this can absolutely 100% change. What we want is to know that move forward, start doing the legwork. Let's see what we can make happen and make it happen, right? Understanding that obviously, yes, locations may change, that, sizes may change. We understand all that. We just want to make sure that that this meets what you're looking for so that we know that this is the direction we need to go.
So let me ask this, is there anyone on the council that has made any objection to anything that they've just, the 12 items that you've covered of absolutely not, you want, or you're.
In concept, generally speaking, I think we're all okay with it. It's just, it's like the fireworks. It's like, could be a drone show, could be this. We don't know the prices. We don't know how
Plus,
that's.
our golf course may not be able, if we have one in 4th of July, it may not be able to handle the traffic 6
Right.
months later because there's a recovery period. And keep in mind, the winter is our high season.
Right.
So, there may be.
But we didn't want to hold you up on starting your fundraising. So that's why we said, in principle, the two big ticket
big
money,
items.
maybe the playground won't be here or will be there, wherever it ends up, but you could start, and also I'm sure with playgrounds, you could spend 50,000 or you could spend 100,000, right? So we know that you want to move forward on those, and I'm pretty sure that we had consensus that those two you could hit the ground running on those because they're the big ticket ones and you wanted to start collecting money.
Perfect. Now, and I think the ones that we mentioned, I'm sorry, did I?
No, go ahead, go ahead. You have a question? Yeah, I did. Thank you.
No, that I was saying, and so that's obviously on these. The other options that we had were smaller events, like fillers. For example, we had a decades fashion show or a luncheon or a historical play. We had a gala at the mansion. Those are items that you're okay if we also just continue to start planning and move forward. Given that these are currently the big ones, we can start. Okay,
Yes,
great.
yes.
Councilwoman? Yes, through the chair. Thank you, Mayor. I guess I was going to make a motion on some items to definitely move forward, but I guess according to Councilman Fahad, we've already agreed on all of the items. Is
No,
it
no, no.
concrete?
I was the one that suggested we, generally move forward.
Today, we're gonna.
We have
at
specific
this
ones
point, just
that we had
clarify.
agree on.
Objection to any of these items?
I don't have an objection, but what I do want to finalize here to execute, Councilman Fahad already talked about the aviation playground, but definitely let's get Mr. Captain Pereira his definite on his, is that what we just discussed too?
I mean, but I didn't, I thought, Heidi, do you think consensus is enough for?
So
Have to vote.
I think that there's a lot going on here.
Right.
There's a lot, and my commendation to your committee because what you've come up with is really fantastic. There's a lot of items here that are going to require coordination with administration, construction contracts, plans. So as exciting as these things are, we sort of need to coordinate those efforts. Make sure that the donations are being received properly, that the donation form is vetted by the, by the city. I would like to discuss further this concept of ordering this statue and expending funds. We don't need to do that right now, but those are the sort of things that it gives me some pause. So I think I think with your direction, myself, the administration.
Heidi, just at the last meeting, I know Roger was covering, but Captain E. Hall is the one that's making the purchase.
Understood.
Yeah, it's not city funds or anything like that.
Understood. I understood that part. I just don't want there to be an expectation later that if for whatever reason the city does not move forward with this, and you alluded to this, that the statute ends up in the captain's front yard or assuming it's allowed by our zoning code. So those are the sorts of details that I want to look at.
And we haven't put up a statue in the city in a very long time, if ever. But there may be requirements, and I'm constantly surprised by these kind of things of, you just can't put up a public statue, made of this. It has to, because it's not just us, it's the county preempts this or the state preempts this, or, so these are all things that we need to make sure that we don't get something that we didn't know it couldn't be, and I'm just making this up, couldn't be aluminum, it had to be bronze, or it couldn't be, and it's not just our codes, it is consistent with what's required for hurricane protection, wind, that you make sure that that doesn't fly off. And if it's a statue, and it's all these tons of something going through someone's window. So I'm glad Heidi brought this up. So moving forward on these things, I think, like you said, the consensus has always been, and we're very grateful for extremely hard work and very, what would I say, succinct report that you've provided. Very detailed, but very easy to read, understand. And like you said, in a year, you've done an amazing, the committee, all of you have done an amazing job. And I don't think there's anyone, I haven't heard anyone having a concern about any particular item. So we're all in favor of them, but keep in mind, it's not just that we say yes. these things, like Heidi says, have to be
Have to
really
be-
detailed and
So then I
But in
think
concept.
in
I think
concept,
everything
yes.
has to be okay. So then I
yeah,
think the
Our
only-
guess is for them to work with staff.
Staff,
to make that happen.
I think, Councilman, I think that's where we are with that. And I think the other thing that has been a concern, and I'm not sure where we are with this with JC, is that they can start receiving donations and putting them into, and like I said before, you know, it's a terrible situation to say, we want donations. They go, yeah, what do I write the check out? I'll get back to you. I still don't know where you write the check out to and all. So we don't want to get into that situation. We need to facilitate that they can start accepting donations right away, that the city has a fund for that. We did it with the War Memorial, and I'm guessing, you know, I don't know. I'll let our finance director figure out with you, JC. what
JC
needs to be
can
done.
elaborate.
And
But
yes,
that shouldn't
we
be
already
delayed
have-
anymore.
we already have identified the methodology on how we're going to be accepting donations. Heidi mentioned something that is true. We have to make sure, excuse me, that we look at the form. Whoever's going to create the form of requesting donations. We need to review that for efficiency. So we need to do that as soon as possible. I was going to mention, I'll be sitting down with staff, for example, with Omar. I'm going to determine which park we can identify to put the playground in, and get some prices as far as, estimates as far as not just the equipment, but the installation as well. So we'll sit down with Julie and Captain on some of those items so we can, at least on our end, I mean, there's some that we're not, like the gala. I mean, we'll rely on you for those numbers, but for the things that involve construction, I'll do that. And then you brought up something that's a good point. I've never installed the sculpture in my career, so I'd have to check with building department, see what wind load and what's required. I'll do that quickly, so that way you can, make sure you communicate with the sculptor, to make sure we.
When you're done,
No, go ahead.
I have verified all of this with these companies. The sculpture company has already installed stuff in many cities around the United States. Also, the Atlantic Models, he had built airplanes. I sent some pictures at Homestead Air Force Base, the closest one we can drive to. And it has withstood hurricane force winds. They have already done it in the state of Florida and other parts of the country for Boeing Aircraft Corporation, Airbus, United, different airlines. So I made sure all of this was taken into account. As a pilot myself, I know about the airplane can take off. And I asked him that question. He said, no, they actually made sure of this, and he's actually working on some other aspects of this. What we were seeking, and she was mentioning also, is I understand his Dr. Fajret's concern, but the thing is, we went through all of these efforts to come up with a plan, and all we are seeking is the city council to agree with the plan, subject to change. And Mayor, you had requested a timeline, so we discussed this, and then I presented each of you a timeline for each month. Again, all subject to change. We just need the approval from you all to let us work with administration and staff and meet all the criteria. And the attorney had a good point here on those aspects, which I verified, but I'll have these companies send whatever required information is. But on a very pressing issue, if I may, since I have a minute, Magic 13 is a personal friend of mine, Mr. Ricardo Romano. He offered to, on his own volition, he's paying for it. He's already designed the cans. He's already got the beer. And on 4th of June, 2023, I handed a letter to Sandra, our secretary, who then gave it to Erica, who turned it into the city attorney. It's been 10 months, and I made a joke to the city manager the other day. A lady can have a pregnancy and have a child born in 9 months, and here's 10 months gone by, and we still don't have the approval for Mr. Ricardo to proceed. And he's very concerned for two reasons. The River Cities Festival is, this month is almost over 2 days. It's basically April, a month from now. Now, he's got a tent, he wants to sell the beer. I'm working with Max Marlem, a personal friend of mine, and all of you love him. He's a great gentleman, to get the distribution. So All this gentleman wants to do, Mr. Ricardo, is to give samples of this beer with the permission of the council and the River Cities Festival. But Mr. Ricardo needs, Romano needs the authorization from the legal department to proceed with the fundraising, because his idea is to donate every can sold. Max can do that through the distributorship that we are presently working on and pushing really hard to get approved for Max to sell it at the store. So he wants to do samples and they'll direct the people to go buy it at the store. And hopefully Max can carry it in all of his 6 grocery stores. And every can sold or cake sold will generate revenue. But that letter is necessary before the centennial. The River Cities Festival, to start raising funds. That letter is very important as soon as possible, please. Heidi, I know you all have had this for 9.5 months.
I am familiar with the letter. I don't think that the council has given direction on the letter.
That's why we have it on the.
Right.
It's on the
So-
agenda. It's on the agenda.
So-
That's why you put
This
it
letter-
there.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Right.
But how
we
fast
approve
can-
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, time out. We don't act as administration and as city attorney without the council's direction. They tell us how to proceed. So that's why we're discussing the letter here tonight. And if the council would like to accept this proposal from Magic 13 and direct us to engage in whatever negotiations and draft whatever documentation might be necessary to accept a donation or authorize the brewery to use the city's name, whatever, we need to look into that. Have we looked into it? Admittedly, no, because we don't have that direction from the council. So I just want to make that clear for the record.
Through the chair,
Yes.
for our city attorney, are there any legal implications using a private business or brewery for this type of business?
We need to look at it. Absolutely.
I think
Okay.
we're going to discuss it, or we can. just
Okay, so let's
let
go.
them finish
Let's
and then.
keep
Okay, yeah.
in order
Well,
here,
let's-
and so we're not
I would
bouncing
also
all over
like
the
to
place.
add, Mayor, the idea that it would be used now during the River Cities, I understand it. From a marketing perspective, I totally get it.
Just so you know, the
But-
chair of the festival has not agreed to that. Just letting you know.
Okay. But also, this was in the context, this proposal was in the context of the centennial, which is 2 years away.
Right.
So now suddenly there is we need this right now for something happening in 2 months. So I want to
That
put
hasn't
that.
been agreed upon yet.
That hasn't been
That has
agreed
not
upon.
been
So
agreed
let's,
upon
so,
by
so
the
I want to,
council.
yeah, so I want to clarify. I
Hold on,
do
hold
want
on,
to.
hold on. Let me just,
If-
let's get back on track here real quick. That's item number 1. I think we're all in agreement. We'll meet with staff. Julie and Captain will meet again, and we'll talk about the items that the city is going to be a little more heavily involved with, especially the construction, the installation of sculptures, so on and so forth. And especially if we get one of the airplanes, the World War I memorial, all that fun stuff. So I think we have direction on 1. Okay? All right. Item 2.
That's clear consensus. We all agree to move forward with all your events.
Correct. Item 2, to direct staff to allocate the funding for the Seth Branson book. I can say, in a previous job of mine, Seth Branson wrote a book called titled 33154, which is for the 4 or 5 municipalities in that area. It was a success. Everybody loved it. That's just my personal experience with Seth Branson and his work. So it's for the council to discuss at this point.
I think the reason that I bring it up is because it takes time. He obviously wants to also hopefully get the community involved and maybe give them, photographs and so forth, so they can make this book successful in the history of our city. And it's not just about Glenn Curtis, it's about everything that has led to 100 years of our beautiful city. So I think just to get started with the fee that he's asked, which is
Yes, but I think this is all part of this that we're saying yes, in theory, to the 12 items.
Okay, so this was
Yeah, but we have to
it's a separate
pay now.
Some of them will be like Taste of the Springs. Yes, we're saying,
Mm.
$10,000 down the road for that, whereas others are, more.
No, but this one needs to be
Start work.
this
Right, but
direct
I
now
mean,
to
I
get
think
paid.
we're already do we have to allocate the money right now? We're saying we're good
Yeah.
with the report.
It
and the
sounds,
estimates.
it sounds like in order for the author to write the book, he needs a payment up front.
I'm
But
sorry,
again,
I didn't mean, do we have to allocate? Do we have to approve that separately? Or if we're just saying yes, and we'll let the city manager decide, they need the payment for the 2,000? What I'm saying is instead of 12 items saying right now we'll vote on each one, we're already saying in essence the amount allocated for each
Okay.
one we're in agreement with.
This falls within my spending authority.
Okay.
So I can go ahead and approve this, but I thought that it would be in the discussion of the centennial, this was one of the items, so I just wanted to make sure if again, in item 1 of this particular discussion, you guys said yes to everything, then I have my direction.
Okay.
It takes a while to write a book and to make it and publish it and to get it ready in time for the centennial. That's the idea of getting it done or starting it now.
And I wanted to mention something with the book because I'll forget later, is I believe she spoke, Joellen Morgan, who was a former Miami Springs City Councilwoman, but also she is she and former Mayor Wheeler and some other very, very committed members of our community are the ones that raised, and I'm using that literally, raised the Curtis Mansion from ashes to create to what it is for years and years and years. So she reached out to me last week after she had heard the report that was presented at the last meeting. She was watching the meeting, and she said that she had been meaning to reach out. She hadn't finalized everything yet, so she was waiting, but that she is also writing a book on the Curtis Mansion and Glenn Curtis as a child, his part of it, right, which is very fitting. And she wanted to, and I'm not sure exactly, but that we'll get proceeds of the sale of that book also for the Centennial Committee. So I don't see any reason that we can't have 2 books on. They're totally different books that are part of this. And I think she made a presentation at the Centennial Committee. Was the committee in
Oh, yeah,
agreement
we
with
were
that?
absolutely.
Okay.
And as a matter of
Very,
fact, Terrence
very
said we're going to
invested
connect as
person.
well
Yeah,
and
he
share
agreed to help
information. And
as well.
So,
Now, Mayor, I will say on the Seth Branson book, I will be working with Heidi to make sure, because as part of the deal, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, the proceeds of the book will go as a contribution to the centennial celebration.
Correct.
So we're gonna have to memorialize that in some type
Has
of
to be
agreement.
contract.
We're gonna have to sign a contract. So we're gonna prepare a contract with Seth,
right.
and that'll come back to you guys, pass a resolution.
Okay.
So that'll be the next step.
so it sounds more so like tonight, what we're getting is direction to start these negotiations and develop the necessary agreements and start implementing things.
That's
On the construction stuff, it's gonna be construction agreements,
Spec.
ordering materials, designs, and then you have things like donation agreements.
So when they come back before you, we'll probably put them on consent because we've
Yes.
kind of talked about it now. And so we can vote on them quickly.
And I can't stress enough anything, including the statute, because regulations change. Zoning, all of a sudden it was allowed this elevation. Now houses have to, right off the bat, your neighbor's house may be this low, but if you're building this year, you have to elevate it. So we want to make sure everything like that we're making sure we're not forgetting to check with something. And then we have something that, it's public land. So it has to meet certain requirements for anything to be installed. One other thing I wanted to mention, because and I thought of this while we were going through this, since the last meeting, I've had several people reach out to me who heard the report, and residents had serious concerns about us calling Glenn Curtis Captain Glenn Curtis, because they said that will come back to bite us because we're changing history. He was not a captain. And if we start naming him captain, it'll come back as, they're creating history that wasn't even. So I don't want to get into that situation. So I understand Captain Hall, Pereira, the reason that you suggested that, but I think for those reasons, we want to make sure that we are following history and no one can use that as a, weak spot.
I just felt it as an honorary thing.
Yes, and
because
no, I know-
He
and I
has
understand.
pilot license
Of
number
course, no,
one
you
from the
explained that.
FAA,
But
probably
they
from the
said a
CAA.
captain is a certain designation. He was
Correct.
never a designated
Because he
captain.
taught
So.
all the military people to
Right,
fly.
right, right.
Nobody knew how to fly an airplane before.
So I think we can stress all of that achievements without
Sure,
creating a title
okay.
that isn't
I
historically
understand your
correct.
concern.
And through the chair, just clarification, having published 3 books, it's, Heidi, I'm available to you for any questions because, one thing is to say, well, Seth is going to write the book and he's going to donate his time, but there are costs that require the preparation of the book. Publisher just takes it, and gets it all done and, get a camera ready and publish it in that 2,500, if that's what that is. But, if he's going to have some expenditures, it's something to think about
Yeah.
as that contract gets pulled together.
Actually, if I can intervene on that, because he was very clear actually at the Centennial Committee that money is kind of like exactly what you said. It's not for the publisher's costs. It's for him to get the ball rolling with a lot of his own personal costs. So that's why he mentioned $2,000.
Well, that's why it's got to be all written down. And
It's not about the publisher. He was clear. I think we questioned him, not questioned him, just asked him to clarify that publicly. And this $2,000 is more for him to.
So that's why it was from 2 to 5,000 because there was specific costs for him in regards to writing plus whatever the publisher may require, and it was something that he was going to negotiate and talk with his publisher. We're still waiting on that final response.
Okay, so that's news to me. I didn't realize that. So I guess continued discussion on that will be helpful. Okay.
Well,
So I think we're squared away on the Seth Branson. We'll work on the resolution the agreement / resolution. If we could more or less get a price, what it's going to cost, his time plus publisher.
This time he did say it was going to be free. He said he was going to donate his time. That was definitely clear.
I think it would be helpful just to start the discussions to have a proposal from him, similar to the one for Magic 13. Like, what is he offering? Is he offering to draft the book? Who's going to retain copyright? Things like that, those sorts of details, so that then we can continue the discussion.
Perfect. All right. And then, okay, so we're good on that one. I'm sorry, I'm not rushing,
Yeah, no.
but I'm looking at the time. Item 3, this is the accepting of the the sculpture. Again, this is just to direct staff to prepare a resolution. Councilman Santin, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think just back to the same thing. We're talking about making major investment. And of course, there's stuff with specs and wind load and so forth. That's obviously like any other, just putting the item right across the street from our city hall. There was probably specs that needed to be followed and confirmed. So it's no different. Now they have to put it on a different level. That's all going to come in play. If they come up with the specifics of it, then you can build it. But he needs some direction, at least from us, that we're accepting your donation to build a statue and the plane. Because if he has to invest this already. And literally, whether it becomes what park or what area or the specifics of what it needs to be so it can meet code.
Okay,
That's just a technical thing. I think.
I think it's technical. I think it's critical to before making an investment.
All right. So
Because it's happened way too many times, not just here, but countywide, where someone is stuck with something. And if you want to put a fountain in your yard, say a fountain in your yard, that is a residential fountain. And that's going to be a very different, the specs and everything that you want to put it on public land. So I want to make sure from the start that we don't, even though, it's the same thing that they have somewhere else.
That's what we're
I want to
directing
make sure.
the
So
attorneys to.
So that's what my understanding is Heidi, that's what you suggested, that you need to get
I think
involved
we
with
need
that
to-
with
To your point, Mayor, to your point, I think I have direction here. What I'll do is we'll work on the resolution, but in conjunction, in the meantime, while we're preparing that, get the technical specs from the sculptor to make sure it meets whatever Ulysses our building department requires, to make sure that it gets installed correctly and it's safe, and make sure we satisfy that. We want to be able to get a permit, if you will. So if we have that information and Ulysses is okay with that, we can, prepare the resolution accordingly and bring it hopefully at the next one, if not one after that. So
So
One
if,
thing I wanted to mention with that, with the statue, just if you've ever been by the fire headquarters, Miami-Dade Fire Headquarters on 41st Street in Doral, they have a statue of a firefighter carrying a child, I believe. The scale is off. They have this huge pedestal that they had to build, and the statue it looks like a child carrying a child because you know what I'm saying? That's like ordering the pedestal and not doing the scale. So I just want to put that through that. Let's make sure, since we've talked about, that the scale is correct to match. Yes, proportionate. And that can happen, when you were looking at two different things and then putting them together.
And JC, this is totally your territory, but the things some of the stuff I'm thinking about is like that pedestal, the donation is for the actual sculpture, the pedestal, I have no idea what a pedestal costs.
what I
but
would
those are the
get
sort of-
from the sculptor is like the mounting instructions of what it would require, the thickness of the concrete. And then internally with Public Works, we can work on creating the pedestal. It's not going to be I'm not envisioning anything grandiose. It's going to be up in the sky, something almost at, ground level, maybe a foot or two up.
Yeah.
And put it there. Now, I'm not talking about the World War I memorial. That if we do get funding from the state, and we'll design that accordingly and properly, like we did the Veterans Memorial.
so I do want to emphasize, and I know that you want to say your point, but I do want to emphasize the information that he would need, or let's say that information that is required to identify if it can be done or not, is something that would have to happen fairly quickly because he is on a time crunch. At this point, he had 30 days from a week ago. After that, the price, it's basically it's basically a deposit so that he can secure the rate that he was given. After that, he wouldn't be able to offer that.
If you don't mind, Cap, tomorrow, maybe tomorrow morning, I'll have to look at my calendar, but tomorrow morning I'll clear my calendar, and then we can call the sculptor. I can express to him what we would need, and if he can just email it to me, and I'll have building department review it quickly.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Can we do tomorrow afternoon? Because I have a doctor's appointment in the morning.
Early afternoon.
Yeah, if you can.
Okay,
let
me look at my.
Yeah, look at your calendar. If not, we'll do it Wednesday morning.
Okay.
Whatever works
Wednesday
for you.
morning would be even
Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
And on that point there, on the both the airplanes, same thing, Atlantic models. And he alluded to the World War I memorial opportunity. And yeah, based on what the price I got for the statue and Jenny for, I can put it together. I talked him down on the price of the statue. So it's down to 48,000 now. And she was brought up the stand. I talked to my construction gentleman, and I'm sure Ulysses will chime in on this. She recommended 3 to 4 feet. The construction guy said the same thing. Not too high because of the proportion issue. Glenn Curtis, I mentioned this last time, his height was 5'7", my height. But she recommended 6 feet and not 7. She said 7 would make it look off. It's not necessary to go 7 feet. Besides, the price would go back up. So at 6 feet, she's willing to do 48,000. And the stand, my construction guy couldn't give a price based on what building we'll come up with as far as strength of the floor. And the whole idea is not to leave this at ground level, like I mentioned last time, because at Embry-Riddle, Wilbur Wright is at ground level and people go messing with the statue. So this is, and the stands for the airplanes is included in the price he gave me. But we have to wait for the funding. Hopefully that will be signed. And then we will be okay for the NC4. And in case you're wondering what NC stands for, it's Navy Curtiss 4. Because they built 4 airplanes, the Curtiss Corporation. Okay. So I just wanted to throw that in there as far as the funding for, the 2 airplanes.
We'll have one resolution encompassing
all 3.
All 3, or
can we do that so we can move forward? And I have to work on the time crunch with the Atlantic models.
I think we just need general direction to get it done.
Yes.
We'll figure out the mechanics.
Yeah, we'll figure it out
afterwards.
Okay.
Yes.
but I think there's consensus there. And then the last item is the Magic 13 beer.
Yes.
Like
Very
the direction.
important.
So
And you-
if so if I may, basically the idea of that was actually again, that idea and concept was done back in June. And the idea is to create different some of the beer cans and use some of the art that represents Glen. Now, Captain Nihal has already reached out to the Hammondsport Museum. We do have approval to use the pictures. We have approval to use the logos on these different cans, and as we need to for the purpose of for the purpose of whether it's to exhibit them or to use them for fundraising ideas. So they're ready to work. What they want is obviously the contracts, resolution, and so on, that they can do this. And what they are saying is that a portion of those proceeds will come, for the purpose of the centennial celebration.
Yes.
This is another place where we can also accept if they would like to prepare the contract and submit it for our review, we can also approach it that way. If assuming council wants to do this, or we can get direction to draft it. I don't know how much this is going to require from a legal aspect. In other words, I'm not promising.
I don't know that, at least to my memory, I've never been involved with licensing something that, is going to be for samples. So I think this is new territory that probably has to be looked into. As you can imagine, we're putting the city's name on something that is something that's going to be ingested. So there's, I don't know how complicated that is, or it may be very simple. It may be very complicated. I will leave that up to JC and Heidi to suggest. Perhaps the best thing is what you said of they prepare the contract, submit it, and we'll see. But
may I inject something? I believe he submitted in that letter his proposal. Was that something you can work with?
We can certainly draft an agreement, but we need to speak with him and get
Oh,
further
sure.
details.
I'm sure he'll be willing. He actually.
I don't know if he's done something like this before.
I don't know.
So maybe he has an agreement that we can work off of. Like,
Sure.
I just need to have direction from council. Like, is
to
this something
explore it,
you
I would
even
say
want
explore it.
to-
I don't know what's required with the city saying, we're going to sell beer and it's our name, and I don't want liability
And
with those
one
kind
the
of things. So
things-
I'm not sure at all with how we can proceed with that. I'll leave it up to JC and Heidi.
One of the
You
things
come
in the
back and let
proposal
us
is
know.
that it be exclusive, that they be the exclusive beer provider for all centennial events and celebrations. So, obviously we can negotiate that if you don't want that, if you do want it, but like there's a lot of details. I don't know if you're comfortable with the amounts. We can certainly negotiate that through the manager. There's a lot of details.
Well,
that it's
my
not just
concern
a-
is liability for the city with something that, you can get intoxicated and then have an accident and all of a sudden it's got our name and we approved it. So, it's going to be sold. So there's a lot of things there that I think with that one,
Gotta look at it. Yep.
yeah, we need to consider. And that might be something that ultimately they do on their own and they call it the centennial and we're not involved. It's, I guess a brewery can name anything.
Right,
And,
but
you know,
is
and
it
so-
possible for the council, Madam Mayor, to give direction to the?
We've already done
We just did that.
Just
We
did.
said for
Just
them
did.
and
Yeah,
I.
to
and-
explore it.
Yes, to explore. And let me stress the contact for all these things because we've got a lot of projects and our staff can't be answering, whatever. It's a point of contact. So our city manager is a point of contact for during the meetings themselves, when the city clerk, Sandra, is there, you direct the questions and things to her. After that, if it's not during the actual meeting, it needs to go to our city manager. We can't have people reaching out about different things, or it all has to be one source.
No, and the captain him and I have been communicating a lot, and he comes to me
Okay,
for
Great. I just
everything.
don't want, like confusion later on that there was approval or something
No.
from
Once we
somebody.
move on to implementation and construction,
Right.
and obviously I'll have, staff will obviously be involved. But as far as getting to that point, Captain and I are best friends.
I was gonna say that, but you beat me to it.
And again, I think we
Second
are
Vice
all
Mayor is cracking up.
amazed at the work that you've done this past year of putting this together. There's
Oh, I didn't do it
There's-
alone. Believe me, she did.
no, I know the committee, all of you, and with the two of you, leadership in the committee, but there's just something for everyone. There's more than something for
Yes.
everyone. You know, there's a lot to celebrate for the community, a lot of different activities, a lot of depth and breadth. And I just
It's
think
a
it's
lot.
awesome. And I've got an idea. Some of these things will spin off into other things as you continue. So we're very, very grateful.
And I'll make a comment that my wife mentioned, we keep thinking 2026 is, and I put it in months for a reason when I sent the message earlier. 22 months is gonna go so fast. I can't believe already we are end of February in the year 2024. And this idea he floated to Councilman Dr. Vasquez floated this committee idea 2.5 years ago. And we've been in operation over a year. And that's amazing.
Mhm.
It was when he first came on, I believe, right, Dr. Vasquez? Yeah, we
At
talked
this
about it.
time of night, I do not recall.
I think it was before my first child that we spoke about.
That's how you start. That's how you start remembering things, right?
Well,
Right, kids, how many kids you have?
Well, we start with the idea of exploring what other cities are doing. That's been.
Yes. Okay.
And Attorney
so-
Hedy, I owe you an apology. I did not realize the protocol. She had it from Sandra to her and she submitted it. I thought you were working on it. I had no clue.
No,
that
just like
they
all
had
these
to-
proposals.
Oh,
It's-
they
we
had
need
to
their
give you
direction.
direction.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so,
Didn't know.
and JC, that's why it's so important to go, because he knows what needs council approval and what he can authorize, it's, he's the one that administers everything in the city, runs the city. So it's really important that it go through him and he makes the decision as to whether it has to come to us or not.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Have a
Thank
good
you
evening.
again.
Thank
We are just,
Hey,
I
hold on.
can't,
Councilman,
Yes, sir. no.
I ain't saying anymore. I think obviously this is the reason why Erica took the time to put this on our agenda. Because it's exactly what Heidi needed and JC, which was direction from us. So you got it in all different ways, but you got direction.
We landed the plane.
And
We landed the
we're
plane.
really
So-
excited. This is
Thank you.
a phenomenal report that you've prepared. And
Thank you so
we're
much.
Thank you,
very,
thank
very
you, thank you.
excited.
Have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we move to item 12E, request by Vice Mayor Bravo to discuss some items.
Right, so thank you, Mayor. I'm going to see if council maybe wants to just go over one of the items tonight. And I can defer the next item to the next meeting, or we can talk about it during our workshop. The parking is basically on the residential, multi-family residential, just to give you a snapshot. After reviewing the parking study that we received, I realized I was waiting for the parking study to see if it tapped into those areas of concern that I'm gonna be talking about, and it didn't. So that's why I was like, you know what, let me bring this to the council and see if we could get some changes to the ordinance and also to implement potentially methods of parking that works better and more strategically and beneficial for the city as far as revenue. So I'm gonna bench 12, sorry,
E2.
E2. Did you guys want, let's go over the 12, wait, E1. It'll be pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so. I do not want to go past 10:30.
Well,
Oh, we'll
if
make
we
it
go
as-
to 11, we have to vote to
Yeah.
extend beyond 11.
No, we shouldn't. So we'll go ahead and defer to E2. All right, so we've had a lot of talk about recreational vehicles where we have a lot of residents concerned with how they're being used, how they're being stored. I wasn't here last meeting, but I took the time to hear into the last council meeting and I heard a gentleman actually brought up the issue of recreational vehicles, which I had been meaning to bring up for some time, but other residents in the area have now approached more often. And driving around town, I mean, I am driving here all the time. I have noticed an increase and uptick of very big RVs. I had Erica send to your emails links for both of my items, but we're just gonna, if you have access to your link now, so you could see some images that I took the time to take so that you guys can have an idea of what we have going on. Maybe there's more, maybe not. Oh, okay, she's gonna be
I've
passed.
seen, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I'm not against having a recreational vehicle on your property. I think it should be your right to be able to store a recreational vehicle. Where my concern is the types of uses and the way that they are being stored on the property, right? So I don't know if you have the ordinance in front of you right now. I believe Erica put it as part of the agenda. So basically, a recreational vehicle is a non-commercial transportation structure or device. I'm going to just say this for the record so people could understand that I'm not, talking about just recreational vehicles. Although our concern is more for camping trailers and RVs. So recreational vehicles are trailers, trailer coaches, camping trailers, motorhomes, pickup, slide-in campers, chassis mounts, converted vans, chopped vans, mini motorhomes, fifth wheel trailers of recreational vehicle construction, design and intent, utility trailers, carry-on trailers with and without a structured mounted thereon, boats, airboats, swamp buggies, unlicensed, uninspected or expired inspection certificated dune buggies, racing cars, and racing stock cars, aircraft, golf carts, or vehicles converted from their original intended use and presentedly designed and used for recreational purposes. If we look at page 2 of the ordinance, it's going to be B, parking and storage. It says recreational vehicles as previously defined in subsection A hereof shall be parked or stored in any residential zoned district in accordance with the following provisions. So for me, my concern is, and again, I'm not an attorney, but the word any residential zoned district in accordance with the following provisions, I don't know what the word any means. Would it be just, single family housing? Would it be a duplex that has a property that they can store an RV? So we're not going to get into those details. They're just notes that I made. B number 2 says recreational vehicles may be parked or stored in rear yard of a property. The vehicle, so long that the vehicle does not exceed 20% of the rear yard. And which no concern, the 20%, it's kind of confusing because 20% of a standard RV, actually 20% of a standard lot, I mean, my lot is 99,500 square feet. 20% of that, we're looking at least 1,800 square feet. So that's allowing for, if I'm understanding this correctly, an RV that could be or occupy up to 1,800 square feet, or you can have 2 recreational vehicles, which actually in our ordinance, we have now that we can store up to 3 recreational vehicles in our property. And I think that's a little bit extensive.
Jeez.
Sooner or later, they'll have their own HOA. So that's just something I wanted to talk about in percentage of the rear yard. I think that's a large amount of square feet. And I think it's probably going in conjunction with the fact that you can have 3 recreational vehicles. If we go to number 8, B8, I'm sorry, no, B9. It says no more than 3 recreational vehicles may be parked or stored in the rear yard of any lot in residentially zoned districts. So I have those districts here. I also provided for you, I don't know, Eric, if we put these on the agenda.
I did.
You did?
Whatever you submitted, I supplied in the.
Yeah, so
in the
this
back.
is on the agenda.
What page is it on the agenda? Because I have it up and I don't. The last thing I have is
the chart?
the Centennial Report.
It's 113.
I have this.
I've only got 53 pages on the agenda on the revised one that went out.
Did it?
141.
There's 100.
Yeah, maybe you need to reload the.
You said 113?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
If it's the districts, it's 113.
Councilman, are you?
I got the revised one on my phone.
Right, so it says no more than 3 recreational vehicles may be parked or stored in the rear yard of any lot in a residentially zoned district. However, the actual number of recreational vehicles permitted to be parked or stored in the rear yard of any such lot shall be specifically restricted to subsection B2, which is a 20% that I was talking to you about in on the previous page.
It's that the recreation vehicle can only take up 20% of the
Correct.
or has to leave 20%. Can only
It
take
can
up.
only take up 20%.
In the back of the house, so wherever
The
the
back of
yard.
the house. So the majority of these RVs, at least the ones that I've witnessed, they're not technically in the backyard. They're more on the side. I think it's allowable. I read something here, but we'll look further. So I think the 20% needs to be scaled back because that's a lot of square footage in RV space. 9A, it says, in no event shall a landowner's inability to park or store 3 recreational vehicles in the rear yard entitle such landowner to any special consideration for granting a rear or side yard variance. So if you have 3 recreational vehicles and only 2 can fit appropriately in your rear yard, and now you have to use a side yard, that's not going to be allowed for variance, which I'm okay with that because I'm trying to scale back to 1. So in that case, I mean, they would have to find another solution if they do have 3 recreational vehicles. Letter C says, the number of recreational vehicles parked or stored within an enclosed permanent structure in any lot or residentially zoned district shall not be restricted so long as it's enclosed. So the good thing here, that's perfect. I wouldn't change that because they can have as many, a homeowner can have as many recreational vehicles that they want so long they're inside of their 1-car garage, 2-car garage, or maybe they have an external, some people have their garages behind their homes. They can also store their recreational vehicles there. That's not being contested. So they can technically have more than 1 recreational vehicle so long it's stored inside of their enclosed structures. But what we're proposing here is to downscale from the 3 outside to 1. So that's just one concept, and we can discuss.
Let me ask you a question. With recreation vehicles, and I'm not sure, boats.
Trailer.
Are those
Trailer.
considered a boat trailer, the way
You
it's
put the boat on the
described?
trailer, so that automatically that's a
Is that a recreation vehicle?
It's under the same code, yes.
It's so in
defined
essence,
under it.
when we're saying 3 recreation vehicles, we're saying you could have a
Boat
camper,
includes golf carts
boat,
And an
golf
RV.
carts.
And an
a
RV.
camper, a boat car, and a all-terrain vehicle or something else.
Right.
And
And the
they all
boat.
fall under that.
Yep.
And I think
Right.
that's where the 20% comes into play. But we can go ahead and get creative with how we want to pursue this. But the main goal here is I wasn't really targeting, and I know I don't want to be biased, but I'm really trying to target the living issue that we have with recreational vehicles. I don't think anybody right now is going to be trying to live on a boat, but I'm trying to address issues that I'm trying to get ahead of. We do have a housing crisis. We do have landlords that are renting out these multifamilies that have 1 bedrooms to 4 people or 2 bedrooms to 2 people, and then they're subleasing or they're pitching in on rent. And that's where there's a flow through when it comes to when I'm talking about the parking on the residential aspect with the multifamilies. That's all it's just an overflow of a big problem. So I'm just trying to bring it to council to see if we can find resolutions so that we're not finding ourselves in a really bad position. Have people having, I saw a couple today, they were popped out. I don't know, they could be living in there. There could be, I mean, I have concerns, you know,
I
we
think
have.
the code says you can't, I think I checked on
It
that. The
does-
code
it's
says you
prohi-
can't
is
have it popped
prohibited.
out.
No, like, no.
That's incorrect. You can't, it
You
doesn't
can.
specify.
It
Oh, it
doesn't
doesn't.
specify.
Okay.
Silent on that.
So that's why in one of my markings here, I wanted to specify that we should have verbiage, like, as you said, Mayor,
Well,
that
and it probably needs to be, we need to be careful is like, if you're coming back from a trip or whatever and you're cleaning out, you know, you need the 24 hours, like you can park your camper in the front, you know, or your boat in the front while you're cleaning it. So, you know,
But that's
no,
with
that's 24
permission
hours to-
of the city manager is typically how it's been done in the past.
oh, okay, or permission, something like that, so that, you know, it's still,
So, and if it's not stipulated in the ordinance, I think that's very important terminology
Mhm.
to include.
What is clear is, and I just, since you mentioned it, Vice Mayor, D1 from the same section that you're reading specifically provides that recreational vehicles shall not be permitted to be
Right.
used as sleeping or living quarters in the city.
I
So to
highlighted
the
that.
extent that they are being used, and I know that this is an issue that, as you very well noted, is being proliferated by the housing crisis, it is illegal to use it for permanent living quarters, for sleeping overnight. And I also want to call everyone's attention to the fact that this section in subpart A9 provides that the recreational vehicles are intended to be used for camping, sleeping, storage of food and supplies, and aerial and water related activities outside of the city's municipal boundaries.
What letter are you on?
This is on A9.
9A?
No, A,
Oh, wait.
under sub A.
A9.
I'm going back up, yeah. Sub A.
Page,
Correct.
A9.
Page 101.
So I just, since I know sometimes, and this is, I know you all know this, but this is more for the benefit of those who may be listening and wondering, like, can I rent out my RV and have somebody use it? No, this is, the RVs are, you know, whatever type of RV you're using, they are all intended to be used outside of the city's boundaries.
do we have anything in there that says, for electrical connections for your recreational vehicle, that they cannot be up
We don't.
longer than 24 hours? You know, because I think that that is, and I'm not sure even how we can monitor that in a backyard, but you know,
Unless they
that-
let you on the property, we can't.
Mm.
Sometimes they can't even see it. What what the code compliance officers have suggested is that slides for an RV should not be open while it's being stored. Carports should not be open while it's being stored. So those are two dead giveaways on any of these pictures that were provided today. That if a carport or a slide is open on an RV, then it can be
it can't be stored in that way.
right. It shouldn't be
Okay.
stored. And I mean, to properly maintain an RV, I don't know how many of you own an RV, but I do. And you should not have your slides open. The seals get all damaged from the weather. You can have potential water go in there. So
So Tammy, you're saying in our code, it already says that that
it
should
does
be-
not.
It does not.
So
It's for
that is
in our-
why the code enforcement officers have such a difficult time trying to really dig into this. After the Vice Mayor had asked us during our meetings, she had asked for a report of how many cases we have open. And recreational in total, we have 145 cases. But specific to RVs, we have 36 open cases in 1 year. 5 of those cases have been issued citations, and we currently have 10 open active cases right now. I saw one of your pictures here on East Drive. They're actively on $100 a day per day fine until they comply. So, I mean, there are sometimes when we don't see action, doesn't mean that there's not action. It's just, and then Rosemary provided me a list today of ones that she wants to come in at night, because that's the only time that you're going to see lights on, that you're going to see activity in the RV. It's not going to be during the day when somebody's working. It's going to be at night. So she is going to try to proactively come on a night work. I don't know if I should be announcing that, but work it and work a night and pick a night and during the weekend.
Require more than one night.
And it could be. I mean, right now like I said, she has a list. I just added the one on East Drive to her list. So.
And Tammy and I have spoken about this issue at length for some time now. It's becoming an issue. Today she informed me that she heard that there was an RV placed in a property but they didn't
Correct.
drive it in. They couldn't drive it in. They had to,
LeBaron.
on LeBaron, they had to put it with a crane. That's not coming out. That's not an RV. That is now a permanent fixture in somebody's backyard. So
So perhaps that's something else to
Interesting
consider
extension.
when we put these, re-update this, and thank you, Vice Mayor, for bringing this up.
You're welcome.
Because it's been a long time issue, and I know I had even put it on the agenda at the end of 2023 and then pulled back and said defer it because there's so many things to look at. But perhaps that's one of the things you would think of that say it has to have access in and out, viable access from the yard, that if you have an RV, you have to show that you have
Enough.
a fence with a gate and everything that can, it's not just, we put it in there and then we seal up the fence and
Yeah.
and
Trailer
these are all
park.
things that we need to
Change.
that are updating.
Also, Mayor and Council, I was looking at the Miami-Dade County building and what their general provisions are for their recreational vehicle storage and parking. And what I found interesting, and I don't know if that's something that the council would even consider, was they're requiring for RVs or any recreational vehicles to be on the side setback that is required for their actual building, their principal building line. So it says the actual verbiage is such equipment shall be set back from the side property lines at a distance that is equivalent to the required side setback for the principal building, and shall also be set back from the rear property line at least 10 feet. And I can tell you that probably in all of those images that you have in your inbox, you have RVs encroaching, literally it's 0 lot lines. And that is not a quality of life for some people. Some people just do not want to have an RV lined up to their property line, say, oh, because it's on my property, it's okay. And I think somewhere along the lines I read here, correct me if I'm wrong, because Tammy, you probably know this ordinance more than I do by now. I think the required side setback is 3 feet. No?
I don't know.
I don't know. I may have read that somewhere. And I'm thinking that is why we see a lot of recreational vehicles parked on the side lots. But the width there between one property and another, it's uncomfortable. And I think it personally, I can call it an eyesore, but we're not here for that because that's irrelevant. It's more for the quality of life, privacy, and basic principle. You can't store your whole life in your backyard if you have restrictions on the size of your property. I'm just trying to maybe get to an ordinance where it's not becoming an external continued, very obvious external obsolescence that can be viewed from every angle, but also the issue of the living. So
What, do we have, and I'm asking because I don't know, do we have a requirement that if you have a recreation vehicle stored in your backyard, that it has to be registered with the city, that this is what you have? So that we can, because also if it's registered, it should have current valid tags, because to your point, if we're not requiring a valid tag, then that could mean it's never really used. It's just being used there to sleep in.
Heidi may be able to elaborate on this a little bit better, but we're not even able to have vehicles that don't have valid tags in the swales because there's state statute that supersedes us. So
Yeah, I think the registration, like Tammy's saying, the registration might be something that's preempted to the state.
it is.
Yeah. So, but I think that there's other things that we can explore, sort of like making it basic evidence that if you're using the RV, as Tammy was explaining, with the slide out, I have never done camping in my life, so I don't know what the proper terms are. But using the slide out, if that's out and it's overnight, then that's prima facie evidence that you are using it in violation of the code. And so maybe we can enhance some portions of the code to achieve what you're saying and make it easier for code enforcement to enforce.
And another item on the ordinance is number 10, which is very contradictory to our prohibited uses. I'm going to read it. It says, parking and storage of a recreational vehicle on any lot shall be limited to vehicle owned or leased by by the occupant owner or occupant lease of the lot. A vehicle owned or leased by a non-resident of Miami-Dade County who is, okay, so the first part, where it says parking and storage of recreational vehicle on lots shall be limited to vehicle owned or leased by occupant owner or the leasee. I personally would like to see where if you have a recreational vehicle on your property, it's because it's the owner and the owner lives there. Not necessarily a tenant has the right to also have an RV on the property. And I'll tell you why. Because the tenant that is renting the house, right, times are tough, and may have an RV on the property, will rent out the RV to pay his own rent. I think that that should only be a right of the owner to have their own property.
I think that's a hard one because when you lease a house for a year, that's your property and you have a right to, we can't say you're a renter, we're treating you different from some, I think.
Is
you know,
there a
it has
restriction
to-
on that? Heidi?
Yeah,
Is there
no, but I know
fair housing?
personally, I know a lot of people that don't want to own a house and they rent, and because it's easier to rent, and
But I get it.
and
but
they own
then-
an RV.
But then you have an ordinance, so depending on where you're gonna go move, are you allowed as a leasee to have an RV on a property?
I would, that one is,
Can you just look into that?
Ray,
Can we make can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
Can we have consensus that the vice mayor work with Heidi to explore some of these options? Because I don't think that you guys have sat down to talk about this yet. And then maybe, and I'm just throwing it out there, and then you guys tell me if you agree. I think that we should first and foremost focus on things that curtail people living in recreational vehicles. I know that Hialeah just did a pretty draconian law where you're not even allowed to have them in your backyard, period, because it was a big problem. I have a little bit of an issue, and again, that's something that you, in terms of the parking and storage, because of the broad way the recreational vehicle is defined, which would include a boat and the jet ski and a golf cart, which we have lots of those. But I think that you should bring it up with Heidi, and maybe if we have consensus, you can work with the city attorney to explore. They're great at, like, this is what 3 or 4 other municipalities have in their ordinances around this kind of thing, right? I think that you've done a great job of looking at it, but I think that that's really what the attorney could do. If we give them direction and you can work with her directly, then you can just come and say, hey, look, this is what 4 other cities are doing around trying to curtail people living in the recreational vehicles. And if you want to look a little bit at you know, how much of your yard could be taken up by vehicles, but I'm a little, I have a boat on the side of my house, right? So, and I know a lot of people that have golf carts and boats. So that one, I feel like setbacks from the side, I feel is, I mean, we could still talk about it, but I think that what we should key on for sure, and I think you're absolutely correct, is trying to curtail people living in recreational vehicles, you know, things that would, you know, curtail that without us having to send out our code enforcement people at
Yeah.
night.
No,
And
through the chair.
perhaps one thing, and I think that's a great suggestion, is because you've brought up really, really valid information that I think, you know, we've all been hearing where, and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And so, but I think you're right, your suggestion, Councilman, of, you know, Vice Mayor working with our city attorney and city manager and, you know, assistant city manager and figuring out something that then we can say, okay, this is what's proposed, and we can, one of the things I'd like to suggest that you look at is perhaps we shouldn't have recreation vehicles as all these things, you know, it's one boat, one
Right.
camper or whatever that's for living. And then one other thing that if you have a golf cart, and, you know, let's be, you know, realistically, the majority of our residents, we live in South Florida, have, not majority, a lot have boats, have, you know, I mean, we're an outdoor community, we
jet
encourage it.
skis, golf
So let's not punish the majority of residents for a few bad players, but the bad players are sufficient enough and are concerning enough that we need to address it. And I know something that I've mentioned before is, and I think I had mentioned it to you or JC when we were first looking, you know, hearing about all this with the recreation, is that when you see that these recreation vehicles are all over and people are using them to live in, well, I'm going to say, I'm going to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I don't know what they cost. I have no idea. and put one in my side of the yard because, hey, I can get some extra rent there. And then we're having a situation where people have actually invested money in buying these for that purpose and trying to clear it out. So the quicker we tackle this, put it on, but maybe just that 3 recreation vehicles in itself I'm thinking of a few properties where I've seen 3 recreational vehicles. I'm sorry, if you're a single family home, I can't imagine why
I saw it today.
you need,
So maybe
Yeah,
it-
yep,
it-
a golf cart.
no, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, that perhaps it's a boat, a camper,
Yeah,
and one other thing that could be
A combination.
ATV, golf cart, whatever, another.
And Mayor, another suggestion that you guys can explore, right? Like Tammy mentioned, there's a property we know that they're getting a fine. I mean, that's the cost of doing business if you're renting it out to somebody for $1,000 a month, right? I think that we need to look at what other municipalities have done in terms of like teeth for enforcement, if it continues.
They lean on the.
Right.
Well, I mean, we have some work to do on the ordinance because that one that you just mentioned, that it's getting $100 fine, it's for not screening the RV. So, I mean, if they come and screen, they come into compliance, case closed.
I don't think they're allowed to screen. I think they need a 6-foot privacy fence.
That's the fence is the screening.
Oh, that's what we're talking about, not just throwing a screen over.
No, not like a
And-
car.
And there's things about the fencing, as I was reading the ordinance, that it provides,
Impossible.
there's just all sorts of
There's
things
too
that
many
can be
details.
improved.
Yeah.
So
I would like to get some,
well, before we get to that, I just wanted to just point out one thing that I really want to remove, and I know I'm gonna be working with Heidi, so I just want to bring it up on the council for the record. On number 10, it says a vehicle owned or leased by a non-resident of Miami-Dade who is a house guest of the occupant, owner, or leasee of a lot may be parked or stored on a lot for no more than a period of 14 days, provided that the guest parking and storage shall be in accordance with all provisions. I don't like to entertain this type of stuff. I mean, if you have a visitor coming, they should either be staying at your home personally or at a hotel. I don't think that we should be entertaining residents that don't even live here, or they're just guests bringing on their properties. I mean, their RVs onto the property. It's kind of contradictive because how do I know that that's not a guest versus somebody that's actually living there?
I think the way that this would be interpreted by code enforcement would be that if I'm coming from out of town and staying at your property and I have an RV, untruer words have never been spoken. I would be able to leave my RV at your house and go, stay either in your house or elsewhere. But I think we would revert back to the prohibited uses section of the code. So
Correct, but I would like to not even have that as an option because I can't. That's why I'm saying I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Discussion.
Think that that's a really good idea. I know we've had company over the years that come and visit, and they come in one of those huge RVs, and I tell them, you can't park, you can stay with us, and they've parked it even in Hollywood and whatever, because it was cheaper, taking their huge, and then when they're ready to leave at the end of the week, they come back and they load everything into it. And you're absolutely right. So I think that makes total sense.
Well, we could,
And that's it.
we can write it into
Yeah.
what you guys work on.
So I just wanted to get consensus from the council so that I can work with Heidi
Yes.
to revise
I
this
think
ordinance
we have
for a
consensus.
better quality of life.
Yes, and
Yes,
we
yes.
think
Thank
it's
you,
really
council.
important. So thank you for
Clearly.
doing that.
Heidi, you got a lot of direction.
Oh, boy.
I'm gonna make time in my calendar for you.
Likewise. Okay, so the off-street parking thing, we'll discuss it at the parking workshop. I want to remind everyone that's Wednesday at 6 PM here. If anyone is still awake and listening, please tell your friends and neighbors and residents, business owners, we're having a workshop Wednesday at 6 PM here, and it's to the parking study for the parking of in Miami Springs commercial districts. Is that okay? Anything else on the agenda? We'll go to city attorney.
None.
Okay, city manager.
Real quick, and I'm gonna be real quick. The East and Oakwood Drive project, we hit a bit of a snag with the county. They're asking us to justify why we need a shared pedestrian bike path. We submitted a plan that I guess was developed some time ago, a study that was prepared some time ago. And they didn't accept it. The gentleman, the reviewer apparently got upset because he feels that somebody wrote a letter to try to go above him and usurp his authority, and none of us did that. Now, I did call him personally and left him a message, so I don't know if, and he didn't answer. I don't know if he got offended by that, but that's something I'm working on because we need to bring this to.
JC, and let me know, and if not, we'll bring it up to our county mayor.
Because if he thinks we went around him, I can go around him, but
No.
I called them to speak to them to understand better, but we'll get to the bottom of that. The Veterans Memorial.
What
it-
department with the county is it? Is that
That's Public Works.
DPW?
Uh-huh.
You have the director's contact information.
Yes, I do. The Veterans Memorial, is it currently out to bid? We're in the cone of silence. But I did want to let you know that we had the pre-bid meeting, the mandatory pre-bid meeting. We had a good turnout. We have 5 contractors that are interested in the project. However, they did request an extra week to gather their cost and to provide us a accurate proposal, which we did acquiesce, and we did grant them that we extended the bid deadline. The new deadline date is March 8th. I think it's March 8th. It's like a week from this Friday or this Thursday. So we'll have the bids in next week, sir. And then the vac truck, I know it was mentioned earlier, and I know that it hasn't been operational in the time that I've been here, but we are going to be getting that back up and running. And we're in the works of that.
Advertising the position for it.
We're advertising the position for it, and we're going to
Is
get
it
that
the-
up and
The
running.
truck was
Yeah,
not
that-
working, or we don't have an operator?
I think there was an issue with both. I think the truck is now okay, and now we're getting the operator. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Tammy, Assistant City Manager?
Just mentioned the family movie night at on Friday, March 8th at 6:30 at the Golf and Country Club. And then also registration for summer camp is now open, so make sure you register your children. That's all.
And, okay. Vice Mayor?
Let's see where I wrote my notes here. Thank you to the council for agreeing to donate for the Boy Scout summer camp. Summer camp is always so much fun. At least when I was growing up, I loved going to summer camp. And then I hit 13 and I thought it was boring, but I was like, what do I do now? So I mean, I wish I had a summer camp for adults. Yeah,
called spas.
I know.
Without kids.
Let's go.
Hedonism.
All right. Let's see. I think that's it. I just really quick, I just wanted to congratulate Chief Guzman on his retirement and welcoming the new captain, Jimmy. I'm really excited to work on new ventures with him and see what angle and perspective he has for his workforce now. I didn't mention it earlier, but I guess I provided also a copy if you guys can review it at a time convenient for you. When I was doing cross-referencing the recreational vehicles and all the stuff, I ran across the code enforcement citation system, which I've already talked to our city manager, JC. He's gonna have a building and work with Heidi on maybe updating the fees, because we haven't looked at our citations, our civil penalties since 1996. And I know with inflation and with COLA and with this and with that, I mean, we're the most generous city in Miami-Dade County. Just leaving that at that. And then also on the zoning map, I realized that there was we were missing on our zoning map. I don't know if it needs to be there or not. I'll talk to Heidi so she can cross-reference that with maybe Sylvia. Oh, did she tap in today? Probably not.
I don't know if she was able to join the whole meeting.
Okay. So just since we're looking at everything, I'll touch base with Sylvia and with Heidi, because we have a 2-family residential zoning district, but it's not on our zoning map. But that's clerical. If it needs to be added, it can be. But other than that, thank you for a productive meeting. I wish everyone a good night. And I think that's it. I thank you for a productive meeting.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman
thank you.
Santeen?
Well, once again, Thank you to our chief, former chief, for the time that he put and dedicated here. And also, we got to give thanks to former administration to think a little outside the box. Because it was a little contentious back then. Because anytime you go outside the department, so it's a tough call, and it ended up being a great call. But now I think we have no contentious action from anybody in the department. The captain, as I still call him, but he's not a new chief deal. He is well liked, well respected, so we have no concerns. So our future looks bright. Thank you.
You, Councilman Behet.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the vice mayor for the thoughtful nature of how she looked into that particular issue, which I think is important to us. And you could tell that you did a lot of work, so thank you for that. And just thank you to every council, because I think that you know, we moved some things along with respect to the Centennial Committee. And you know, like you said, mentioned Councilman Santin, we gave lots of direction, I think, to staff. So I don't know if she's thanking us for all the direction we've heaped on her, but I think we got a lot of good things moving.
Councilman Vasquez.
Ditto to all the things that have been mentioned. I just want to, in addition, I said this to him already, but to the city manager for an excellent job in handling Chief Guzman's retirement and bringing Captain Deal, you know, that whole piece. It's really seems seamless, but I think it was a great choice. And I appreciate the effort that you put in there, because otherwise we would have been going out to do you know, searches and so forth and so on. And you know, we had a diamond in our own backyard. So thank you.
It's easy when you have good people.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. That's a mayor.
Okay. And for my part, just to remind everybody, for the parking study workshop Wednesday at 6, please, 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 if anyone's still out there listening, get engaged, tell your friends, your neighbors and business owners, because we really need input on this. These are a lot of hard decisions that need to be made. And we're going to be working hard on that. Other than that, I wanted to thank all of you. I think this meeting is a really good example of how, and I mean everyone here on the council, our city manager, assistant city manager, our city attorney, city clerk, our videographer stays with us till the end. You know, we just work together, and it really is a real pleasure to work with all of you. I know we all have the best, we may not agree on everything, but we all have the best intentions for our community, and I appreciate that. So with that,